Alright, ladies and gentlemen, everything looks good on this end. So, how you all doing tonight? So, I guess to give a quick update before we get too much farther as people start to trickle in, I believe I already said as much in the description and in a couple other places, but it bears repeating that the main thing that had been keeping me from streaming on Saturday night, which is the most convenient time for me, is no longer a concern. So, I'm going to be moving to this time as the consistent stream slot. So, that in mind, I'm thinking that since we are going to be starting to shake things up with that, we may as well do something different. So, I've branded this as a variety night, although, actually, before I get too far, I should also throw this into the React Night section. Well, React Night playlist. Give me a second. There we go. Hiya! There we go. So, the idea being is that we'll look at a couple of videos, we'll play a couple games, specifically a couple ones I bought recently because I was curious about both of them. So we'll see how it ends up going. Let's see, and then I'll answer that question once we get further in. So I guess the first thing on the two videos I have on the docket are as follows. One that was recommended by a regular talking about presumably next-gen consoles, and then a second recommended by a different regular, which gives me an excuse to talk about Fire Emblem some more. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, say no to next gen. Don't do it. So, I saw the title, and I believe that this is Scott the Waz's second channel, whom we had watched, I think, his Tears of the Kingdom video, and really liked it. So, let's see what he has to say on this topic.
Kids, just say no to next gen.
Okay, good start.
We are currently at the point where normally we would usually be talking about next generation consoles, but it just does not feel warranted at this point. And that could be for numerous different reasons.
Well, for the PlayStation side, it's because the joke is that they don't have all that many games. And what games they do have are, well, at least of the exclusive games, they are very much a particular style of game. And to be fair, the Switch 2 right now, I don't know if it has that killer app that would really justify making the purchase on it yet, unless you're trying to avoid anything with memory shortage and are anticipating that it'll have that killer app. I mean, eventually I'll get a new Fire Emblem game, and it's not as if I've hated the stuff I've played thus far on it, but still.
I mean, let's go back through the history of video game generations. A concept that I think is only really known by schmucks like us. I've talked to many of my friends who just aren't really that interested in like following video games like I do. And they're generally like, I didn't even know there were such a thing as video game generations. So,
really? Well, to be fair, I guess it's easy for us to get tucked away in our own little bubble, so I guess that's not entirely unexpected, but curious.
To be honest, I'm not really sure if this mindset really applies to the general consumer. I think the general consumer, when they see a PlayStation 6, they'll be like, oh gosh, it's a PlayStation 6, I want that. But the general sentiment I see many have online, and one that I do share as well, is this feeling that the current generation just hasn't really even gotten started yet. Which,
I mean, I guess it depends on how you categorize it, because I'm trying to remember, because Nintendo's off doing its own thing. Xbox is committed enough to the PC market to where they're effectively out of it. And then PlayStation, where is PlayStation right now? When was the last time I actually paid attention to what PlayStation is doing, actually, now that I think of it?
like I said, I agree with, but it's also like, on paper, it's kind of hard to argue that sometimes. Because to be honest, at the very least, the PlayStation 5 generation is kind of going pretty similarly to how the PlayStation 4 generation went. A lot of people look back at the PS4 and go, wow, oh my god, so many games that generation. And yes, but in the first half of that console's lifespan, I almost feel like some people kind of forget the PS4's launch lineup wasn't anything to really write home about.
Indeed, and you're seeing that, well, I guess we'll just have to see what Nintendo pulls out for the Switch, but all in due time, I suppose. What's chat up to? I hope they release GTA 6 for my Game Boy so I don't have to upgrade. Okay, hey Lou, how you doing? PlayStation's being PlayStation? Very descriptive.
In fact, in many ways, I would say the Xbox One's launch lineup was better than the PS4's.
The only problem there is that they shot themselves in the foot by trying to say online only.
I'd argue the PS4 didn't really hit its stride until like 2016 or so. Before that, a lot of the stuff that was kind of releasing was just a lot of re-releases and remasters and cross-gen titles. But I think around that 2016 mark, not only were we getting a lot of good exclusives on the PS4,
Wait, why are you showing Overwatch in that case? That wasn't an exclusive.
and also the Xbox One, but also just a lot of like good games in general. It
Okay, there you go.
kind of felt like that generation fully started to like, all right, things are finally off to the races. You know, we got Uncharted 4,
Okay, see, this is where you should have, well, you probably should have included one of those clips earlier, although if this is a second channel project, you might not be as concerned with the visual component, so fair enough.
Ratchet and Clank, Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017. Now, even The Last Guardian finally released. And honestly, around 2016, that's when I think we started to finally shift fully away from cross-gen titles that were also releasing on Xbox 360 and PS3. You know, before then, in 2015, 2014, we had some incredible games like Metal Gear Solid 5, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Wolfenstein, Dragon Age. But of course,
Well, people dispute Dragon Age Inquisition because of how MMO-like it was, but never mind me.
they also released on the previous generations, which I don't necessarily think is like this massive point against them or anything. But, you know, at the same time, when I'm playing a cross-gen game, it is kind of on my mind that what I'm playing is not necessarily like, oh yeah, this is really using this brand new console that I bought.
Okay, more important question. What are the cats' names? I saw both of them. Bring them to the camera. Do it. Yes, I'm getting distracted by cats. More on that once we get to the game section. Either way, so I guess it's fair to be wondering about that because you do somewhat see that with Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA in the current in the current cycle, because you've got these games that are still very much capable of running on the old gen, and so if they're already there, is there really a point in upgrading yet? And to be fair, Prime 4 has its own issues. More on that next week.
But I'd say around the 2016 mark, I'd honestly say when we saw like Doom release and then onward, I think a lot of the multiplats that we're hitting were like, all right, now we're finally in just the 8th generation territory now. So I'd say we had about 3 years of
I'd be curious to know more about that, but fair enough. Well, I guess we'll just let that slide.
growing pains, I guess you would call them, for the 8th generation of consoles there, which is pretty lengthy, all things considered. You know, you look back to the 7th generation with the Xbox 360 and PS3, and yeah, so the Xbox 360 launched in 2005, PS3 in 2006. We were still getting games on the PS2 for years to come. Now we got FIFA 14 on the fucking thing. But I think that was a lot more indicative of just how well the PS2 sold and the fact that the Wii was a part of the 7th generation and shared kind of a similar technical prowess to the PS2.
Fair enough.
That's why you saw during the 7th generation a lot of Wii and PS2 multi-plat games.
Never really thought about it in that sense. Fair enough.
But by comparison, there really wasn't any original Xbox or GameCube games releasing after their successors launched. Like, maybe for like a year there, but that was kind of it. So
Well, actually, hang on. Remind me, which Xboxes did Halo run on? So I know Halo 1 and presumably 2 were original Xbox. Where did 3... Well, when did Halo make the jump to 360? Was it 3, ODST, or Reach? It's been too long for me to remember that exactly.
PS2 getting support for as long as it did was more of kind of just like a special situation. The 8th generation kind of normalized a much longer than usual cross-gen period where the previous generation was being supported well into the next generation.
So 3 was 360, I think? That sounds correct to me. Halo 3 was? Okay, that's what I thought. And so, curious that that wasn't mentioned, but never mind me.
And then we saw that even harder with the 9th generation with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. How that was even a big point when Microsoft was prepping the Xbox Series X launch in 2020. They were specifically talking how this generation is kind of different, how they're not really looking at this as a generation. Rather, this is kind of a continuation of the Xbox One, I guess. And for
Well, I guess that actually, yeah, that does make sense with how they've been acting, especially with their focus more on PC. I guess that makes sense.
a while there, the Xbox Series X didn't really ever have true exclusives. Like, basically, every game Microsoft was releasing for the thing was cross-compatible with the Xbox One line of consoles. And I think this has always been kind of an interesting debate to have, because on one hand, this is nice for the consumer because you're not necessarily being told, like, hey, you need to upgrade to this brand new console. Like, if you have an Xbox One, you can play all these major games releasing, at least for the time being,
Well, until they got the Series S to eventually replace it if you were strapped for cash.
on that console instead of having to shell out $500 for a brand new one. At the same time, like, what incentive do I have buying the brand new piece of hardware? And the
Well, I mean, it's the same reason that you have motivation to get the fancy gaming PC as opposed to the potato PC. It looked nicer. And to be fair, that is more of a niche use case, but that was the idea for Xbox Series S versus Series X. Heck, that was the idea for the original Steam machines, but the problem is that, well, Linux at that time and Steam with Proton was not ready for that use case, so I think you can guess how that went.
the mindset that, oh, if a game is cross-gen, that's not gonna hold back the next-gen releases or anything, I think is stupid. Now, I'm no game developer. I don't know shit about how any of that works. But I think it's only logical to know that, like, yeah, if you're creating a game and you have to keep in mind that this game needs to run on 10-year-old hardware, you're not going to fully design the game to take full advantage of this brand new hardware. Like, yeah, you're going to be able to do some nice things with the new hardware, graphically and technically speaking, but no, you need to always keep in mind this game needs to be able to run on ass-old hardware.
Well, it depends on how you're looking at it, because there could be benefits in either direction, depending on the platform. And I guess I'll just give an example, because I'm working on a follow-up to my Linux video I put out last year, and one of the games I tested lately was Satisfactory, a factory automation game. So recently it did a 1.1 update, and I think they just recently announced that that version is Steam Deck verified after giving it proper controller support as well as allowing it to release on consoles. So the optimizations that they would have had to do to get it Steam Deck verified have had a knock-on effect on how effective they run on my PC, to the point where I can play that game using my full 1440 ultra-wide on what I would consider mid-range hardware, and I'm holding 60. FSR is involved, I suspect, at least to an extent. I think I've set it to balanced mode within the general settings, but still, my card's not... I think it's a 6700 XT. I'm pretty sure that's mid-range now, and yet I guess it depends on what exactly you're looking for in that respect. Are you looking for something that is high-end, gonna push the limits of graphical capability, and if so, how? And I guess that's sort of what you ran into with Mario Kart World and why they justified it as a Switch 2 exclusive. They just were having trouble having that many racers on the track at once, so move it to another console. I guess there's some logic to it where you wonder, okay, how much is it being held back, and how much of it is encouraging developers to properly optimize their games? I guess that's really the question. I've always heard get a PC instead when looking at the Series X. Yeah, well, what it boils down to there is that anything that the Xbox can use, well, the benefit of the Xbox, well, besides it being used as a glorified Blu-ray, is, well, the idea that it effectively acts as a pre-built PC where, okay, you have the ecosystem, you don't have to worry about Windows bloat, you just have your games, you have your downloads or CD, well, I guess, I wonder what Xbox is using for physical games if they even are now, but you get the point. Actually, now that I think of it, does Series S even have a disc reader anymore? I'll have to go digging into that. Either way, so at that point, you probably could just focus on getting a pre-built PC if you're willing to throw down the money for same, although memory shortage right now, so your mileage may vary. But to some extent, how much do you really need the Series S or a Series X when you can just go for what it's going to work just fine, and where all of the games are... Oh, Series S is digital only? Okay, yeah. Ugh. for something that'll eventually become outdated. No, come on, guys. At least maintain some level of physical. Heck, Baldur's Gate 3 has a physical version at this point. I should buy one. Either way. So, I can't remember where my train of thought was going. Let's continue.
And, like, I feel like every company has said this to an extent. Like, I know somebody who worked on God of War Ragnarok said that, oh, the game was never restricted by the PS4 hardware. And it's like, that might be true. And I feel like they are telling the truth there. They are literally just saying, like, what we wanted to do, like, we were able to do on PS4 and PS5. But it's also like, yeah, this is a sequel to a PS4 game. I just feel like you can't deny this giant cross-gen period definitely limited or at least heavily postponed us seeing what the PS5 could really do. Because for the most part, the PS5 has been a very good graphical experience in my opinion, but when I truly put it side by side with PS4 games, it's not like this massive difference. The ninth...
Well, and you're going to run into an upper limit on that because for a while, you could just continuously double processing capacity year over year by just making it ever so slightly smaller. But eventually, there's only so many times you can do that before it becomes untenable, which is why we don't have any price decreases on consoles anymore. We hit the upper limit on that to where if we do want more out of it, we gotta rethink some things.
Generation has felt like a smoother, faster version of the previous one. But here's the thing. I think that's good enough. I have no problem with that because even looking back at certain PS4 games, if I look back at Uncharted 4, if I look back at The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake, all these games still look amazing. And
fair enough.
yeah, the PS5 versions of all of these games run better. The PS4 versions pretty much all ran at like 30 frames per second. And some of these games, like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Ghost of Tsushima, did get sequels on PS5 that looked and ran even better. I think my point is, when I look at all of these games, whether they're the originals that started on PS4, the PS5 re-releases, remasters of those PS4 games, or the PS5 sequels to those PS4 games, I think I just start to think like, what, do we really need brand new hardware? And I think the release of the PS5 Pro really kind of made everybody start questioning that, because the PS5 didn't necessarily feel like it was struggling in most cases. Where some games, oh, you have to choose between performance or fidelity mode if you want to do 60 frames per second or you want to do 4K visuals. And that's kind of a situation where it's like, okay, I guess, like, yeah, PS5 Pro eliminates having to choose between performance or fidelity mode in a lot of cases. And I think my thing is like, yeah, maybe I need a crazy ass TV to be able to see a lot of the differences. I think
To be fair, I only just got a 4K TV recently, so I can feel that.
PS5 Pro is overkill in many instances. But even when I see where it kind of succeeds, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like, runs really well and looks really good on the PS5 Pro. All right, I'll concede that. The normal PS5 version of that game notoriously had a really rough-looking performance mode. Like, yeah, you get 60 frames per second, but it looks like ass. So even when I wouldn't recommend...
Well, I mean, is that the PS5 or is that Square Enix being silly?
...and a PS5 Pro to most consumers, I will at least acknowledge that, like, yeah, like across the board, you get the best running and best looking versions of these games on console. Okay, but
38 frames is good. 60's better. Come on.
Then I have to ask, now what? What do we truly need in video games moving forward?
Something different?
Why do we need to spend another $500, $600, $700 for the next piece of hardware to play the next generation of video games? What could...
Yeah. That is a question we're going to have to start asking, especially if the economy starts or continues, depending on your perspective, to have troubles. So, especially once the AI bubble bursts, that's not going to be pretty.
What could these video games possibly do or look like to warrant spending that amount of money and leave?
Well, the short version is you go indie. Or that's pretty much what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking, oh, gaming's hitting an affordability crisis. I can exploit this. I'll just create something simple that you can treat as an arcade experience, and it'll be great. And I can just sweep the legs out from under everybody. It'll be great. And there's going to be a ton of other people like me trying to do the same thing, and enough of us will succeed to where the AAAs are going to struggle, and they'll eventually figure out what they're doing, But honestly, the future is AA at this point. I don't think they can keep things going with how top-heavy the AAA scene is right now.
Leaving this whole console generation in the dust. And don't get it twisted. These companies, they want to do a new generation. It's not about if it's completely warranted or not. Like, literally, if Sony puts out a PlayStation 6, that's millions of units sold and hundreds of millions, billions in revenue right there. More games get sold. The brand gets like a huge spike in popularity and word of mouth again, all of that. It definitely benefits them in the short term to move on and to do a new generation of consoles. However, I do kind of worry that moving on to a next-gen console when it doesn't feel really warranted just makes it a lot harder to be passionate about what's going on in the game industry, which is
and that's what the Switch 2 had going for it, is that it was still an incremental upgrade, but it was an incremental upgrade where there was a clear demarcation of, hey, this is what we are capable of, this is what the new Joy-Cons can do, here's the benefit of it, where people balked is with the price.
just something that I've seen happen to a lot of people and something that I felt a bit myself. Like in the recent year or so, I haven't really given a fuck what goes on with the PS5 and specifically the Xbox Series X. I couldn't care fucking less about that thing. That doesn't mean I don't play my PS5. I've been playing Ghost of Yotei and I love Ghost of Yotei. I really enjoy Mafia: The Old Country. I am definitely interested in finally giving Clair Obscur Expedition 33 a shot. But like when it comes,
I keep hearing things about Expedition 33 and I keep never making time for it. At some point I'll need to check it out though. I've still got my own backlog to get through first.
Comes to watching the state of plays, I'm pretty fucking spotty with those things, man. I don't give a fuck half the time. So
honestly, for me, I mean, there was one recently. I just heard about all the announcements and said, okay, which ones are coming to PC? Okay, cool. See you in however many months when the next one comes out. When's the next Nintendo Direct again?
So, if in the next year they announce a PlayStation 6 and it's going to be the same old song and dance as before, but now things are going to be even worse because if games are already taking forever to release on PS5, you know for a fact they're going to take fucking even longer for the PS6. So then we're going to have another console with even bigger gaps between releases. And yeah, like, I'll get the next PlayStation. I'll always get the next PlayStation.
Well, that mindset is, well, I mean, you can get away with it because this is your job. Not everybody will be able to get away with it. Eventually, the bottom falls out if you keep that mindset up.
But I think what's starting to just kind of like fade away is this overall passion for everything going on with these console brands.
And honestly, I suspect that that will keep you from getting the next PlayStation as a result of that. You say you'll get it, but if the passion isn't there, apathy is death.
Just to an extent, I feel like is an unhealthy parasocial relationship with
exactly
plastic. But I just kind of feel like that kind of love and passion about PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo is what keeps this kind of subset of being a fan of video games so engaging. I look back to the PS4 era and when Sony did the PlayStation experiences, which was pretty much just these fan events for them to do like a secondary E3 showcase where they go up on stage, they make a ton of announcements, and a lot of these announcements were much more fan focused. Like, there were portions of this where they were like, oh, and this game is coming to the PlayStation Vita, and they showcase like the Vita during a time in which it was even farther past the grave. It was like at the fucking Earth's core. But as
now that I think of it, it didn't last very long either.
time went on, Sony just stopped going to E3. They took a page out of Nintendo's book and started doing the state of plays. And yeah, and now there's like no real major face to PlayStation. PlayStation is just a fucking entity, which is something that you also see with Nintendo as well. Like, Nintendo has faces and they have a lot of very iconic people related to that company. Most of them are developers that kind of turned into like more so figureheads at the company, but Nintendo has also been going in that direction as well, where they don't really want to lean into like, oh, focusing so much on their presidents or the super big business guys there. Like, those guys kind of take more of a back seat now.
I'm kind of surprised that they don't do that, because then that can create an air of relatability, although I suppose the risk at that point is that you can end up pigeonholing yourself once the guys eventually need to step back or step away.
It's fine. I mean, I don't need Doug Bowser patronizingly pretending to tell me how much he cares about the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake on
Well, what if you find someone who actually does care?
Switch 2. I mean, we're getting a little far away from the point. So to kind of bring things back a little bit, this overall shift with these companies feels much more business oriented. And not to say that they've never been like that. Honestly, them showboating their presidents and big business guys in front of everybody created more of a parasocial relationship, if anything. Which, I mean, to be...
I mean, yeah, I guess we were both leaning toward the same point in that respect, that the fact that you could do things like meme My Body Is Ready all the time with Reggie back in ye olden days. Yeah, you don't see that as much anymore, and that does take some of the fun out of it and take some of the hype away. So whether that's a good thing or not, I suppose remains to be seen. Although I guess the concern right now is that you risk things becoming too homogenous at the top end, and I think we're already at that point to an extent, so we'll see where things go from here, I suppose.
Fair, it was kind of a business decision to create this kind of weird parasocial bond between the video game fan and the CEOs, like Reggie Fils-Aimé and Jack Tretton, making me feel like it's just like, oh man, they're cracking jokes on stage. They're just like me. I love this company. Fast forward to the PS5 era where you had Jim Ryan, who actively looked at fucking Gran Turismo on PS1 and said, who the fuck would ever want that? I don't fucking like this shit.
Wait, is that real? Hang on. What was that headline?
Turismo on PS1 and said, who the fuck would ever...
Hang on. I need to look this up. Hang on. Why would anybody play this? That can't be real. It's real? Hang on. Hold up. Why would anybody play this? About backwards compatibility. Okay, so what's the deal here? This was 2017, so near the start of the Switch's life cycle. Backwards compatibility support on PlayStation 4 is a people many want, but only a few will actually use, according to Sony's Jim Ryan. Since the start of this generation, Sony always shared an attitude against bringing backwards compatibility, repeatedly shutting down requests from fans to bring it in some form in PS4, whether it be for PS3 games or any of the classic titles on PS2 and PS1. And to an extent, you can hardly blame them if you're competing with, well, just a surface level analysis, if you are competing with your entire back catalog, that can create a tremendous amount of pressure. And yet, if you are so confident that, hey, people aren't necessarily going to need to play these because they'll have all of these shiny new toys, what are you afraid of? So Microsoft surprised everyone when it announced Xbox 360 backwards compatibility support for Xbox One, and since then many Xbox 360 games were spotted topping the most played charts on Xbox Live, not to mention seeing a sales boost such as in the case of Black Ops and Black Ops 2. Oh, interesting. And those were relatively old even back then. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Sony has changed its take on backwards compatibility much. Sony's head of global sales and marketing, Jim Ryan, told Time that he doesn't see why anyone would play old games given the advancements in fidelity achieved today. Well, there's a certain experience that we will be discussing later once we get to the games on the docket, where you can only attain a certain kind of gameplay with stuff that occurred back then when you had to be very specific and deliberate with everything you were doing. So, quote, when we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested but not actually used much. That, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, basically every PlayStation game, and then PS1 and the PS2 games, they looked ancient, like why would anybody play this? Well, did you choose an art style that would look dated in the long run? That's the next question, because PS1 era absolutely can look dated, but at the same time, you still have people who like the original look of Final Fantasy VII, and that was what, PS2, PS1? If I'm remembering correctly, I think it was original PlayStation. I might be misremembering. Ryan's comments are very surprising, particularly when you consider that Sony is selling those very same old games on PS4, after slightly prettying them up and adding in trophies. Okay, yeah, pretty much. How did you get away with that? Well, to be fair, Xbox One had destroyed itself by trying to go online only for a bit, so you could effectively just lean back in your chair, point and laugh, and you were guaranteed to at least do better, so interesting how that turns out.
ever want that. I don't fucking like this shit. I have a new Nintendo of America CEO, and we're not gonna hear from her at all. I guarantee you that. Because
Probably
in my
not.
eyes, these companies are kind of just moving towards, if it don't make us money, why the fuck are we gonna do it? Which is
Well, I mean, it can be rolled into your marketing, but that's beside the point.
why we were talking about next gen, even when it doesn't feel like that makes any fucking sense to do so.
Alright, Final Fantasy VII was PS1? Okay, fair enough. There you go. People still like the look of the original one of those, even if they've got the brand spanking new ones that, I mean, I'll be very curious when they release all of it and I can go from beginning to end, because part of me's thinking, adding in all this could lead this to be very bloated, couldn't it? Is it bloated or just stuffed to the gills with all sorts of new stuff? I'll be very curious to see what that ends up being. What else is shout out to? Oh, I know, raise the prices of both the console and online services. Yeah, pretty much.
You gotta keep coming out with brand new hardware. And I get it, we gotta keep pushing technology forward, but when the technology is getting pushed forward and it costs a piss ton of money to produce, and the results really aren't that much better than what we're already getting out of a PS5, that's when I feel like they need to sit down and get their priorities in check.
Pretty much. We're approaching it from different directions, but yes, that is the point.
Across the board, in the holiday season of 2025, video game hardware was not selling all too well, and
Yeah, I think the only place where it was doing well was the Switch 2 in Japan, and that's basically it.
think the companies will probably look at that and go, well, shit, man, we might need to move on to the next gen of hardware. And I don't think that's the problem. Do you know how many people are still playing like Fortnite on the original PS4? I don't think the PS5 really truly had like that giant surge of games that, oh, you can only play on this generation of console, and this is a complete must-have. I think when Grand Theft Auto 6 launches, that's going to be a different story, but
Well, I'll be very curious to see how that one does, because part of me wonders, okay, is it taking so long because it's in development hell, or because it's just going to be stuffed to the gills? Depending on the price they set for that, I'll be very curious to see if Rockstar is able to recoup the dev costs for it. They've been able to ride on the coattails of Grand Theft Auto Online for a while now. I'd be curious to see if that allowed them the time to make something truly spectacular, or if it allowed them to get lazy. That'll be the real test.
you know what, that's going to be in like, I don't know, when the PS7 launches. But even mentioning that, I think that brings up another massive problem with this generation. Development times are getting way too long and games are costing way too much to make. And bringing in a next-gen console, things are just going to get even worse. Game development time and costs have reached absurd levels.
And how much of it is perfectly within the control of the people calling those shots. How much of it is bloat?
And I think it just gets to a point where I look at a lot of the games, a lot of the AAA games, even AA games releasing for the current generation of consoles. And, you know, to act like we're not getting fantastic games is, you know, just a lie. We've had some incredible releases this generation so far. But I'm going to be honest, a lot of the games that are releasing and the games that are taking so damn long all look and play so fucking similarly to games that we got 5 years ago.
There's all these fantastic games. Okay, name them. And then you just go on to a tangent about, oh, a lot of them are too samey. Yes!
Ghost of Yotei is really cool, but it's pretty much...
Okay, now we're getting into examples. Thank you.
It's just more of Ghost of Tsushima. Then we had Spider-Man 2, which...
I thought people didn't like that one.
It's just like, I enjoyed what I played, but like, I still haven't finished that game because it's just like, I didn't really feel a huge drive. Like, I'm just like, I've played this game basically twice before. Yes, this is more technically impressive, but it's kind of, it just feels like more of the same. Even with Nintendo, when Tears of the Kingdom took literally like 6 years to release after Breath of the Wild, and it's just like, yeah, it made sense. There's a lot of under the hood stuff going on with that game, but it's also like, damn, this game took this long and it looks and runs the damn same.
I mean, it's running on the same hardware. What do you expect?
We had Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok. Yes, these are fantastic games, but I feel like this generation has felt like it hasn't even really gotten started because a lot of the games that are releasing here are just kind of like more of the same from what we got from the previous generation. Hell, even a game like Astrobot in 2024, like Game of the Year, I love Astrobot. But also, that game is so goddamn similar to not only Astro's Playroom, the free pre-installed game with the PS5, but also the original Astrobot VR game. And of course, that's to be expected, but Astrobot Rescue Mission VR on PS4's PSVR literally beat for beat follows so much of what Astrobot PS5 did. In addition
It's just more accessible because you're not reliant on the VR hardware, presumably.
to Astro's Playroom being obviously like pretty much the foundation for what Astrobot PS5 is.
Fair enough. I heard the reception on Spider-Man 2 was mixed. That's probably closer to accurate. Fair enough. I know people who are still using a PS4 because you can get it at GameStop for $100 or $200. Makes sense to me.
Not saying anything about the quality of Astrobot. And also, most of the people, I think, that played Astrobot PS5 didn't even play Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Actually, now that I think of it, going on that tangent from chat. Oh, hey, Ray, how you doing? We'll be seeing to your video after this. So, I guess going on that tangent from chat real quick. I wonder if the success of the Switch is going to end up hamstringing Nintendo this generation. I know the whole suffering from success bit, but there's a part of me that thinks, is that something that could legitimately hamstring them because there's this large install base, and there's going to be a lot of these used copies that people will be used consoles, and the storefront's still usable, that's going to completely sweep the legs out from under them. They really need to deliver on this generation, or they're just not going to be able to convert people, are they? That's going to be rough for them. I just took a lot of mental damage, but thanks for asking. Oh, sorry to hear that, whatever's going on, but I'm doing alright. Relatively busy day, but glad to be here.
On PSVR back in the day. But still, I'm just trying to make the point that, like, this generation, while it has gotten started, and it has been going on for 6 years now, a lot of the big games that are releasing aren't really pushing boundaries like mad. Like, it feels like we're just kind of getting a lot of the same franchises and a lot of the same styles of games over and over again.
I mean, when the stakes are so high that you're throwing hundreds of millions behind it, you really can't afford to take too many risks, can you?
That doesn't mean that things are like, oh, bad or anything. But when we take a look at the Xbox 360 era, we were getting literally like trilogies and then some from a lot of franchises. Like Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and Judgment, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, all within like 2-3 years of each other. And I think it's just making it harder to be super excited when we have to wait 5 years for the next game in a franchise compared to 2 years. And
well, why do you think that is? I suspect it's because of bloat, but we'll see how it bears out.
And it makes sense. I'm not saying that, oh, these game developers need to work faster or anything, you know? I think a lot of developers already work hard enough. I think these generations just need to be longer at this point because a game developer is only going to get like 1 or 2 games out a generation. Or I think a lot of these projects need to slim the hell down. They need
Okay, good. We're finally on the same page. Excellent.
to trim the fat. Because I think it's obvious shorter dev times are possible. It can be done. You look at what Insomniac's able to do with Spider-Man PS4 releasing in 2018, and then Spider-Man Miles Morales releasing in 2020. Now,
Very similar games, to be fair. Effectively, an glorified expansion when you think about it, but still.
Miles Morales is more of kind of like a standalone expansion slash side story where it's much shorter than a big AAA release. It obviously reuses a ton of assets, but overall, like, I thought that game came out pretty damn good. Yeah, it was shorter, but it's also like, I kind of want a shorter game from time to time.
That's
Sue
fair.
me. Yeah, I'm willing to bring legal proceedings into this discussion. But I think
Okay, calm down. I gotta bring some of that humor in, fair enough.
a lot of game studios are at a point where they don't really want to take a lot of risks. I think development costs have gone so damn high that a lot of these companies are going like, well, we just need to put out what works.
Yeah, pretty much. I suspect that's what's just gonna happen for a while until the bottom falls out. Well, I'm glad to hear you're good. Well, thank you, Greg.
And put a shit ton of money into that. and then just hope it sells 40 million copies. So then, of course, you have the live service initiative where all of these games need to just live on for years and years and years. And I'm just like, this is getting fucking boring and it's unsustainable. And I just don't really see what a next-gen console is gonna do to just tantalize me. With the
Join the PC Master Race. It's fun. Well, it's more fun over here.
Xbox Series X and PS5, ray tracing was kind of shown as like, oh, this is the next big step for graphics.
But here's the thing about ray tracing, and I think people have started to realize this. We got so good at rasterization for lighting, which is the old style that we've been using for lighting. People got so good at that ray tracing ended up not being really needed. It's more a matter of, hey, you don't have to do all of this manual work. The only difference is that you have to throw in all of the processing time for it. Because I think I've said this a couple times already, but I remember bringing up at one point, I'm sitting in a computer graphics course at college in, I think it was 2016, maybe 2015, somewhere around there, that I remember hearing from the professor, you will never use ray tracing for real-time applications. And now people are trying to use it for real-time applications because of how far it's come along, but the thing is, do you really need to? We've gotten really good at rasterized lighting to where we can pretty effectively fake it. Well, fake what we would normally get with ray tracing without really having to worry about it too much. So it is more work, but we've got down to a science to where is it really that much more work for, well, when you consider the fact that, hey, this is going to be a major performance hit for how much less work? I don't know.
And I don't give a fuck about it. So yes, I mean, like,
especially since that in some cases ray tracing is an option rather than a requirement. So if you're not going to just build it with ray tracing right from the jump, okay, you're still having to do the rasterized lighting for some of the PCs or what have you. Okay, what's the damn point then?
I can see ray tracing. I can understand that, like, oh yeah, you know, that looks really nice, I guess. But like, the best ray tracing isn't even like, you don't even notice it. Oh, just really good reflections, all of that. And like, when ray tracing is turned off, like, I don't even really notice that it's gone. If technology like this is costing millions of dollars, not only on the development end of things, but also to produce hardware that's capable of producing graphics like that,
Scott's a Mac user. Well, we can't all be perfect.
That's not worth it. And I think games are at a point where if we can hit 4K resolution and 60 frames per second, I think that's as good as things really need to get. Yes, you could do 120 frames per second.
It felt nice on Metroid. There are other things that worked on Metroid, but, well, I'll talk about that next week.
But I'm not currently really at the state where 120 frames really does much for me. Yes, it feels even better than 60 frames per second, but I think 60 is like where a game truly feels great.
And to be fair, visually, unless you have a specific monitor that can handle it, you're not going to visually see the frame rate. You might feel it with how responsive the controls may end up being, but you're not going to, well, and to be fair, you'll have to worry about lag time on animations anyway, and on latency for the controllers, so eventually you hit a point of a point of diminishing returns, even after you acclimate to it and then drop down and realize, oh yeah, this is what it felt like, I miss this now. But putting that aside, you do need a device that can visually see it if you want to appreciate it from a visual standpoint. Otherwise, it's smoother on gameplay, which it feels nice when play. So either way, it works out.
And I think anything more than that can be overkill. It can definitely be nice, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary most of the time. Now, I've definitely accepted the 4K revolution. I definitely prefer games running in 4K compared to 1080p, but even then...
Oh yeah, people do actually use analog aiming for this game, don't they? Oh man, it is going to be fascinating to compare my footage with everybody else's, isn't it?
And a lot of times, games running at 1080p...
I'm probably the only one who likes the Omega Griever boss fight because of that.
They still look great. Like, 1080p is still a good resolution. But 4K is definitely where things are pretty much, like, perfect. and they tried to make 8K work. The PS5 console originally launched with an 8K logo on the box.
But who has a TV that can actually handle it? That's the next question.
Probably because in 2020, Sony was like, well, that's the next step. It's 8K. We're going to do 8K. We're going to try to sell 8K TVs.
I'm gonna replace Jay's PC with a Mac. Good freaking luck.
But then, like, nobody
I'm way too used to my Linux hug box right now. Don't you dare.
bought 8K TVs. 8K TVs are barely in production anymore, even though they tried selling them, because 8K TVs were stupid expensive, and in practice, nobody could tell a goddamn difference.
I mean, yeah, eventually the pixel density gets to the point where it does become unrecognizable, so fair enough.
The only way you're really going to notice any difference between 4K and 8K is if your TV is literally like 200 inches.
It's not gonna be quite that severe, but close enough, I guess.
Even then,
It would need to be a big TV in order to be more noticeable, though I will grant you, people have their complaints about the Switch 2 handheld mode, as far as the colors and I think some of it, how it handles things. But honestly, you look at the pixel density on something like Mario Kart World as opposed to playing Mario Kart 8 in handheld mode, there's a difference.
I'm sure you won't see that much of a difference. And the fact that 8K hasn't really been like adopted by anybody, it's just this giant cycle. Well, nobody wants an 8K TV because nobody's producing 8K video content or 8K gaming content on consoles. But nobody's doing that because nobody's buying 8K TVs. But nobody's buying 8K TVs because there's no fucking reason to buy an 8K TV. 4K
Welcome to the Wii U.
is perfectly fine. And yes, I think it's good to keep striving for better, you know, like try to make better technology, make better products overall. But it's to a point where I think like them pushing forward and trying to make better products, better technology for these consoles is more so to just sell us a new console rather than, oh, we have an inherent need for new hardware.
Suddenly, all of the AI push makes a lot more sense if they're reaching the upper limits on what they're capable of.
So what should really happen here? Because they're gonna make a PlayStation 6, and it really sucks because the only way I really see a path forward is the traditional console getting more stuff like what we got with the PS5 Pro, but more frequently throughout the generation. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying I want that, but this is what I think is gonna end up happening, because it ends up making more and more sense for a lot of these console manufacturers to just pretty much make their console basically a PC.
Yeah, pretty much. Make it easy. Well, make it an easy buy-in where people panic about, oh, what am I gonna do if the PC breaks? What am I gonna do if this one particular part starts having problems? Okay, well, then, as if that couldn't happen to your PlayStation, but never mind me.
With a console user interface, because I'm sure it'll...
That's technically what we already have. It's called a Steam Deck. I hope the Steam machine works out well. Please announce a price, Steam.
Make things easier for developers to pretty much just make a PC build for their games. And then it's just like, oh, it'll work on the new Xbox, it'll work on the new PlayStation, and we can just slide the graphics up and down based on which model do you have. Do you have the PlayStation 6.1 or do you have the PlayStation 6.2?
I mean, given how hardware has become much more standardized, I suppose that is really what it boils down to now, isn't it? Jay, be the first 8K streamer since you can afford 2,000 8K TVs. You have a inflated idea as to what I can afford, good sir. Actually, how expensive is an 8K TV? I'm curious. What kind of... Alright, you know what? Second link, let's see. How expensive is an 8K TV? Alright, so... Oh god. Probably more expensive than literally... Actually, no, not quite literally everything on this desktop, but... Oh, damn. Okay, sort by... Can I sort by price? Alright, price low to high. Okay, so ignore the sponsored one. Okay, one that doesn't have a price. Okay, the cheapest one I'm seeing... Let's see. I'm seeing around 1,500. Doable, perhaps. But, considering that you're also seeing it range from 1,500 to 5,000, Yeah, no. If I want to spend that much money, I'll spend it on a graphics card.
Well, the point too, you
And even then, I probably won't spend that much.
can, it'll run a little better on that, and it'll look a little better on that, but
I'd sooner get a second NAS than get an 8K. Well, an 8K TV.
it'll still run on the 6.1, because it might not work as well. But I think that's the future that we're heading towards. And it's not that, like, that would be absolutely awful or anything. But if we're going to start getting yearly revisions of these consoles, well, at that point, I think it would be nice if you could just swap out the hardware inside, kind of like a PC. But at that point, then...
Yeah, you're just on the PC market. Join us. One of us.
Why the f*** do you have a console then? Just get a PC. But
Well, that's why I go for Switch, because I can pick it up and take it to my bedroom.
I think a setup where things can be scaled very easily does make sense because, obviously Sony and Microsoft have seen how successful Nintendo has been with the Switch, how excited people are about the handheld PC market with the Steam Deck and whatnot. And Xbox already partnered with Asus to do the ROG Xbox Ally,
Which has had problems, but never mind that.
which is basically like their version of a handheld, but the way
But works better on using SteamOS.
the Xbox does things, they're definitely just kind of going like, oh, we'll license our name for this, and there we go. We tried a handheld. Good for us. But in contrast, it's pretty obvious that Sony is going to take another whack at the handheld market and do something kind of along the lines of the Switch, or at least a new handheld that'll play kind of the modern games, but at lower settings, or maybe it'll only play PS5 games and not the brand new PS6 games. But then again, like I said, the
A bit late to be jumping in on that market, but then again, if you've got the dedicated audience, perhaps that could move units.
PS6 will probably have like 5-6 years of cross-gen releases. I don't know. But I think it makes logistical sense for the next gen to be kind of set up like that. And I'm only saying logistically based on what these companies are already trying to do. Because for me personally, while I see some benefits to this, I also feel like this kind of takes away a lot of like what makes gaming kind of special. When I was a kid, my console was like, this is like my thing. This is my toy. This is where I go for my fun times. And now, I don't know, it's just turning the fucking console market into just basically just the computer market or the
Well, I was already used to the computer market, so it's no big loss for me, though I could see the appeal being lost for you.
smartphone market. And I'm not gonna argue with that being like, well, that's not fun, and I don't want that. I want my consoles to just be my consoles for 10 years. Like, I understand
10 years at least.
need to evolve. But I just find a lot of things that are trying to be done with video games to just not work the best with how video games work overall. I don't know. Because if we're just going to keep on making more powerful and powerful and powerful hardware, I don't think any game is actually going to take some time and just stop to smell the roses and actually make the most out of a lot of pieces of hardware.
Well, not if they're going to be spending all the money to try and make it work. You need to dial back on that.
Look at what they were able to do with the PlayStation 3 near the end of its lifespan. And some late PS3 games, damn, man, I mean, they just look like low-resolution PS5 games sometimes. And that hardware debuted in 2006. And graphically, yeah, things keep on looking nicer, but the amount that we're able to see things improve, I mean, it's the law of diminishing returns. I mean, we've been at this point for years now where, like, how much better can things get? Yeah, if you compare certain things side by side, you can see, oh yeah, things have gotten better. But in my opinion, are you really going to look at something like, let's say, Demon's Souls, the Demon's Souls remake on PS5, and you're going to go, wow, things have really improved on the PS5 since then? Like, no, that game still looks like it could have released this year, or next year, or the year after that, or the year after that, and you'd still be like, damn, this is a good looking game. So while you can keep pushing things forward, that doesn't mean you need to. But it's obvious these companies know that new hardware is exciting to some extent. So, I mean, even...
Well, it is until it isn't. So we'll see when the law of diminishing returns hits player hype.
Microsoft is going like, guys, don't you worry. We're working on new hardware. And then everybody's going like, what the fuck are you talking about? You haven't even done shit with your current hardware. But then I'm like, oh, silly me. Time is just going by fast. I'm getting older, so I don't realize how much we've truly gotten out of the Xbox Series X. Like,
Well, everything on it there's reached PC though, so what was the point?
Would have gotten that Perfect Dark reboot, even though that was announced in 2020, and then we finally got gameplay like 4 years later, and then 5 years later they canceled it. But hey, the concept of that was cool. The promise was enough for me to buy the Xbox,
And there are going to be people who have buyer's remorse because of that.
and there was Contraband, which was announced at E3 2021, and then we saw nothing from that game. And then it got canceled in 2025.
I feel like you're setting up a point and then just dismantling it in the next second. Is this intentional?
You can
This
play
has to be
Super
intentional.
Lucky's Tale from the Xbox One on your Xbox Series X.
Okay,
Well,
this is
This is
intentional.
why I'm saying no to next gen. I don't want this generation to end because it's just that fucking awesome.
Okay, yeah, that was intentional. No way it wasn't. Come on. How's... No subtlety. Although... I probably should have clocked in on that sooner, to be fair. Let's see, what's been chat... Well, what has chat been up to while I've been wrapping that up? I hear Jay's gonna buy all of the all of the DDR5 64GB RAM sticks. Joke's on you, my computer can't even handle DDR5. Oh, if I need to upgrade while this AI bubble's in play, I am screwed. Ugh, my motherboard still uses DDR4. That's how old the tech I'm using is, relatively speaking. I am so in trouble when it comes time to brass tacks. Hopefully this thing won't break anytime soon. Luckily the memory's relatively new and hasn't shown any signs of issues, so I should be fine. I probably should have gotten an extra 32 gigs when I had the chance. But, no matter. What else is chat up to? Let's see. Have you ever had any gaming takes that almost the entire community disagrees with? What is my most controversial take? I'm trying to think. What is the most controversial one I've had? Let me pull up my... What's it called? Let me pull up my channel real quick. I'm gonna mute desktop audio in case something blares. Okay. Can I find myself? Here we are. Cool. Let's see. Most controversial take I've made. Actually, unironically, it's probably saying that Breath of the Wild is a 6 out of 10. That definitely upset people. And to be fair, one can hardly blame them for being annoyed at that because, well, that is very much a hot take, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've said that comes even close to that. Oh, here's one. Gordon Freeman should speak if there's ever a new Half-Life game, although I think that's one you agree with me on. What else is there? I don't think there's anything else that's super controversial that I've said. Oh, let's see. Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 is the worst entry in the Jedi Knight series, and Mysteries of the Sith is an outright bad game when it hits the swamp. Because holy crap, the lightsaber combat is useless in that game. Jedi Outcast is so much better. Yeah, so I've had a few controversial takes. I'm not sure which is the most spicy. So what else is chat been up to? Let's see, I've heard enough for at least the PS7. I think you mean the PS8? Oh boy. I make the hardware near impossible to work with and make it difficult to make games for and make it 1200. Sonic 06. Dude! That's your hot take, Sonic. That Sonic 06 is bad? Yeah, well. No matter. Or is that you making fun of me saying that? It could go either way. It's been a long day. I'm gonna assume both, because that's funny. Either way! Let's see. Next on the chopping block. Ray has given me an excuse to talk about Fire Emblem. So we're talking about Fire Emblem. So, Linhardt's not a character I've focused all that much on, to be fair. Because in a lot of ways, he's a very straightforward character that you have a lot of noble characters who are very gung-ho and very eager to fulfill their obligations, and then you've got a few who are nervous about same, especially given the whole matter about crests, especially in the kingdom where that's more prevalent, especially with respect to heroes relics. And then you have Linhardt, that's just there, being outwardly lazy and just focusing on what he feels like above all else. So Linhardt's not a character I tend to focus on as much. If I had to name my favorite characters in Three Houses, it would probably be, I think it's Dimitri, Sedith, and then either Ash or Felix in that order. I think you can tell which house I like the most. Let's see what else is chat up to. Yep, I hate Gordon Freeman because he isn't a character, but a skin suit for the player. Yep, I knew it. That would prompt something like that by saying it. And then another comment. Sonic 06 is top 1. Okay, calm down. Yeah, Sonic 06 is up there with Big Rigs Over the Road Racing and Superman 64. I don't know if it's quite that bad, but still, not ideal. Either way, definitely janky enough, but there is actually a beginning, middle, and end, so I think Sonic 06 does have that going for it. And it generated a hilarious fan dub, so you have that going for it as well, although that's probably more because Sonic fans are insane. And are willing to make fun of it a lot, which, to be fair. Just a heads up, I haven't watched this video from start to finish. I picked it for you because I know you like Three Houses. Fair enough. We'll see how it turns out. Your favorite house might be the Black Eagles? Okay, now you're just saying that to piss me off. Let's start! What, you didn't go in and grab the conversations yourself? How dare you?
How's it going, and welcome to another video. So, a bit ago, Byleth was of course revealed for Smash. Everybody was happy and there was no discourse at all.
That tells me the time frame on this. 6 years ago. Yep, 2020. Yep, sounds about right. Absolutely no problems with your boy left landing in the Smash of Bros. Absolutely not.
None whatsoever, only...
Clearly not. I still remember all of... Actually, let's see if I can find it. Hang on. I need to find this. Hang on, should I even... I don't know if I should play this as the thing. Because it's just a video of basically just with Fire Emblem music in the background just saying "Ho's mad" over and over. Just saying, oh, that's cute. You all are annoyed because there's another Fire Emblem character. Just wait a few months and you get Sephiroth and suddenly your annoyance at anime sword fighters is going to disappear, first of all, but... Either way, getting distracted.
ever happiness on the internet. But either way, we also learned about the upcoming DLC involving the Ashen Wolves house.
Yep. Good DLC, somewhat.
And as it turns out, my man Linhardt is going to be appearing as one of the playable characters.
Ah, so that's what's motivating the video, cause if memory serves, it was Hilda, Ash, and Linhardt that ended up getting roped into this.
This of course pleased me greatly since Linhardt is my favorite Three Houses character.
That is an interesting choice of favorite. I'll be very curious about that. Usually if it's a Black Eagle, it's someone like Edelgard or... Well, actually, who would be the favorite among the Black Eagles? Dorothea's up there. Ferdinand von Aegir for the meme potential. I have a lot of respect for Hubert. I mean, Bernie's best girl, but that's just my opinion.
As well as one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters in general. So I
Okay, now that one I'm curious about.
figured now is a pretty great time to talk about him. Throughout this video, I'm going to be talking about several of his supports to give some analysis of his character, and explain why I love this guy so much.
From what I've heard, the Black Eagles feels unfinished. Well, it got caught in an odd middle ground because the way that the development cycle was explained by the developers, what they called the Silver Snow route was developed first, which was the idea that you spend a lot of time with the noble lead, only to have them yanked away from you in the midpoint. And so they had that idea, and that appeared to be the first one they did. And then they also wanted to create a separate route where you stick with that hero and end up playing as as an antagonistic force at a group that you otherwise spend a lot of time with. And so trying to balance all of that you ended up with a fairly different path on, I think it was Crimson Flower that it was called. So you end up with a very different route there, and because it's very singularly focused on barrel through everyone, it can end up feeling underbaked, especially when you have instances where you're on the Blue Lions route and you've got, well, you're in the middle of a war, but trying to balance the fact that, hey, you gotta bring this empire down that's antagonizing everybody, and yet the guy who's leading you is also fucking insane. And having to balance that out and get something reasonable out of that. And then for the other house, the Golden Deer, it follows a very similar trajectory to Silver Snow, if not almost identical. The only difference is there's one extra fight that you're involved in. And because of that, it can lead Silver Snow to feel empty, because instead of having this very charismatic, noble character helping to lead and act as, well, and act off of with respect to Byleth as the largely silent, strong silent type, you have an instance where you've just got the Church of Seiros members who are already there anyway. And to be fair, I like Seteth, second favorite character, but come on, he's not Claude, he's not Dimitri. So, although to be fair, well, there's a lot more that can be worked with as far as differing ideology and objectives when it comes to Claude and Dimitri as opposed to Seteth. I like Seteth for different reasons, but still. So Linhardt is in top 15. I'm not sure where I'd put Linhardt, actually. I should do a tier list at some point.
Linhardt is a man controlled by two driving forces: passion and laziness. Passion for the things that excite him, with the great interest of his life being crests. He has dedicated his heart and soul to his research on the subject, and it's not an exaggeration to say they're what keeps him going. Then on the other hand, there's his laziness. That unending desire to just not do anything. For Linhardt, if it doesn't interest him, then it's really not worth his time. But either way, I think these two traits working in unison is what makes him such an enjoyable and relatable character.
It can end up looking very conflicted when you describe it like that, though. Because, yeah, unless it is something he is explicitly interested in, he just cannot be asked.
Traits and behaviors that pretty much everybody has. It's very easy to jump into his shoes and think, yeah man, I've been there. We're not all from noble families, not all of us have terrible social anxiety, and I'm pretty sure nobody here watching has had a loved one killed in the tragedy of Duscur. But
that's a random example, but okay.
All of us have something we're perhaps a bit obsessed with.
You probably could have just said lost a family member, but never mind me.
Probably not Cress, but maybe a character or an anime series or a video game. That feeling of excitement and joy that fills you whenever you talk about your favorite thing is a universal one. So it's naturally very easy to relate to Linhardt when he starts talking about his beloved crests. Then on the total opposite end of the spectrum is his laziness. That sensation of just not caring. That feeling when you're stuck in class or at work and literally anything else would be more exciting.
Well, that is something you run into a lot, unfortunately, depending on where you're at, so fair enough.
There's also that nagging feeling you get from that little lobe in your brain that tells you to go, take a nap. As much as we're all the excited and interested Lin, just as often we're him, but wearing an I really wish I weren't here right now button.
Okay, good at it.
But that really is the human experience in a very condensed form. You're most often either bored or excited, and Lin has both of these feelings in spades, as we'll see in some of his supports.
Then there's been a lot of hilarious edits using that short version. Hang on, let's see if I can find that video too. I wonder if I can even share any of it. Hang on. That's the real question. Can I show it? Let's see. Well, how do I find this one? What was the name of it? Here we are. Okay, hang on. When Linhardt is awake for more than 2 hours. Here we are. Hang on, let's... I shouldn't play all of this. Let's see, where's the best one? Hang on, so... here we are. So, I guess the only context you need for this is that the same person who voiced Linhardt was also a character in that infamous Ghost Stories dub. That's all you need to know.
Are there any mirrors left in your house?
Huh? What do you mean?
You've lived there a while now. Haven't you shattered them? By looking at them?
There you go. That sort of thing.
His support with Edelgard is a great encapsulation of Lin's character and perspective on things, as well as how his carefree outlook clashes with Adel's need for structure. The support begins with Edelgard tracking him down for skipping class, and Lin of course begins to talk a bit about the wonderful world of Crest. As Lin puts it, Crest research is its own reward, and this is where we see how their outlooks on life vastly differ. To Edelgard, practicality is everything, and doing things that aren't directly beneficial to some end goal are just a waste of time.
And given what Edelgard is dealing with, no surprise there.
It's not that she disapproves of Crest research, far from it, but from her point of view, the obvious question to be asked is, but what is the point in doing this? For Linhardt, there isn't necessarily a point. His own enjoyment of the subject and knowledge gained are the benefit. It's sort of like how your parents probably ask you, what's the point in those video games you play?
Well, thankfully I didn't have to explain that to Dad, but never mind me.
Sure, we've all heard the "those games aren't gonna help you get a job" speech, and then in the back of your mind you think, it's fun, that's why. Go away. Linhardt basically has that same conversation with Edelgard, but her attempted mommying of him doesn't end there, and in the B support her harassment continues.
Harassment is a strong word for it, but okay.
After a while, Lin finally blows a bit of a gasket and shows a truly frustrated side to his personality. And he straight up calls her an awful nuisance.
Well, yeah, of course, it's Linhardt, he has no filter.
Imagine having the balls to tell a future emperor how annoying they are straight to their face. What a Chad. But anyways, he also brings up an
Fair enough.
excellent point about overbearing leaders. And it's a very fine line to try and walk. Be too lax and your subordinates will walk all over you, but be too strict and you often end up demoralizing people. This exchange is extremely relatable. I've had teachers and bosses that have been super overbearing, and it kinda kills your motivation to do anything. Edelgard relents, and in the A support she returns with a new proposition. A Crest research institution led by Linhardt. He can research whatever, and some other guy will find a practical way to make use of his findings. Lin is interested, but points out the obvious flaw in the idea. An institute under his control will most likely just fail completely. Even if given the freedom to just do whatever, that still comes with the responsibility of managing other people, and it
Yeah, that is fair concern.
would just become another job at that point. Edelgard holds back on the idea until the A+ support, where she makes the institute way more appealing for Linhardt and only Linhardt. She would provide food, clothing, and housing, as well as unlimited time off, but no actual payment. So much about this idea is bizarre. It's basically just a big homeless shelter for Crest researchers. Like, nothing about this is a job. They don't actually have to work, they get unlimited time off, and probably worst of all, they're forced to give up their land ownership rights to join.
I mean, if Linhardt genuinely doesn't care, then he genuinely doesn't care, and that was the whole point of the reforms that Edelgard was trying to put into place, that, well, bloodline is not the important part, what your responsibility, well, the responsibility you wish to take up is what's important, and your ability to actually fulfill it. Let's see. Jay reminds me of Raphael? Really? Really? I'm not that simple-minded. The turtle? No, that's... Actually, is it a spoiler to say? Huh. No, not the turtle. The turtle is somebody else. Raphael is a playable character.
It's a super weird idea, something 99% of people wouldn't be interested in, but weird is right up Linhardt's alley, as he happily accepts the proposal. And it honestly seems like the ideal life for him. No worries about deadlines, getting bossed around. He can sleep the day away and just indulge in his Crest research forever. It's a good support, despite this Crest Institute idea being weird as shit, but it does a good job showing both characters' perspectives on each other, and there's ultimately a happy resolution that the two are content with. His support with Dorothea shows a new side to Linhardt, and it's one of the few times where he's shown being truly vulnerable. It begins with Dorothea commenting on how nobles would look down on behavior like napping in public, to which Lin responds by giving his perspective on the subject of nobility. Unlike Ferdinand or Lorenz, who are noble and proud, Lin
And are annoying at it in the case of Lawrence, but never mind me.
is noble and, doesn't care at all. To him, noble pride is a dumb concept, and he even offers up a rare example of Lin thinking from a purely practical standpoint. To him, pride is a pointless and oftentimes actively disruptive character trait, stating how his father's pride causes a lot of issues for the Ministry of Domestic Affairs. Dorothea, however, thinks differently, saying,
Well, to be fair, the conflict between Linhart's father and the Minister of Military Affairs is also a matter of just sheer personality clash, just as much as anything else, where you've got, and they explored a little bit in the spin-off, where you've got this big brute who's very smart militarily, but very much gung-ho, get it done, and then you've got this other guy who's very by the books, so there is sheer personality clash that, well, to be fair, pride would factor in by Linhart's perspective, especially given how other nobles put on airs, but still.
that in order to lead, you must have at least some level of pride. Or to put it another way, self-confidence. After all, if you don't believe in your own ability to lead, then why should others follow you? The rank ends with neither character making much progress as Lyn decides that it's nap time. In the next rank, a group of soldiers start gossiping about Dorothea, and Lyn gives the brilliant suggestion of just ignoring it. Eat a meal and just don't think about it, but it's obviously not that simple. Although Lyn says he's been the target of gossip, it would absolutely be a different type of gossip. For Lyn, it would probably go something along the lines of, man, the Minister of Domestic Affairs kid is lazy and kind of weird. But let's stop talking about that now, because his dad is a very powerful man. On the other hand, Dorothea would be the target of all sorts of nasty rumors about how a commoner got to her place at the monastery, and presumptions about her character and sense of morals. This insecurity about her place in society is one of her biggest worries, and it's not something she can simply not think about. The B+ support has some juicy stuff in it, starting with Dorothea apologizing for how she acted in the previous conversation, and confides in Lyn about some of her insecurities. For Dorothea, the reality is that she can't deny many of the things others gossip about. She did, in a sense, sweet-talk her way into the monastery.
Well, yes and no, because she got a lucky break with the Middle Franc Opera Company, and then spun that popularity into being able to get into the Officers' Academy, so there is a degree of truth to it, although, given how lucky she was, I suppose it would make sense that she would act that way, so fair enough.
And it bothers her greatly. Lyn once again gives the same nonchalant advice, just don't think about it. But from Dorothea's perspective, that's the same as just running away and not facing reality. Although it's not immediate, this line seems to have a grave effect on Lyn's perception of himself and his own actions. Let me ask you a bit of a philosophical question. Is it better to never really try and thus never really fail? Or is it better to truly give your all with the risk of knowing that effort might be totally wasted? Would you rather stay in the comfort of the familiar, or possibly have a bad experience with the unknown? Life is full of these risk versus reward questions, and it's obviously something Linhart started thinking about after his chat with Dorothea. In their A support, he returns to confess a major character flaw of his. In some ways, his laziness is much more than just trying to avoid work. It's a way of avoiding his fears. Rather than just doing what needs to be done, he does what many of us do. He puts it aside and thinks, I'll get around to it. But as he puts it, one of the effects of running away is that eventually one runs out of places to run to.
I had completely forgotten about this conversation, huh? Okay, this is going in a different direction. I don't remember this. Huh. Three Houses is a good video game, boys.
Avoiding one problem leads to another, which leads to another, and one day you find yourself with nowhere left to run. It's a sadly relatable part of his character, which I'm sure many of us, especially college students, deal with every day. That constant back and forth between wondering if you should work or just enjoy yourself. For many of us, including Linhart, that second option is always more appealing, despite knowing how it's gonna bite us in the ass later. This is a great support between these two characters as we learn more about both of them, their perspectives on subjects like pride, escapism, and others' perceptions of them. It also ends on a positive note, with Lyn being able to confess an insecurity of his, and Dorothea seeming to find some sort of new attraction to his weird behavior. The greatest interest of Linhart's life are the ever-so-contentious crests, the genetic gifts from the goddess which are a focal point of the setting. For Lyn, the research and understanding of these crests are his reason for continuing on, and naturally many of his supports revolve around characters who possess them, as well as the lengths he's willing to go to in order to learn more.
Yep, I mean, he started the video by showing off, showing him being somewhat confrontational with Marianne about hers, and then I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't go into more depth with Edelgard, given, well, the situation that she's in, although I guess her status as royalty would probably matter more in the grand scheme of things, although with Lysithea you could more directly tackle the problem, so I guess it makes sense. What's Chad up to? I mean, you kind of resonate. Okay, now you're just trying to get a rise out of me. I'm ignoring you now.
For Linhardt, nothing could be more interesting than somebody who completely defies the known rules of crests. That, of course, means somebody with 2 of them. His support with Lysithea begins with the dastardly and cunning Lyn tricking her into admitting that she has 2 crests, and he proceeds to basically treat her like a lab animal. This is an example of Linhardt allowing his interests to overtake his sense of decency, and although he can be sarcastic, lazy, and even rude, he always remembers to at least treat people like people. He even, ironically, comments on how she's the one being rude for not answering all of his invasive questions. In the following rank, he continues his interrogation, seemingly having not learned his lesson the first time, but he brings up the possibility of removing one of the crests. However, rather than just letting the suggestion simmer in Lysithea's mind, Linhardt pretty much immediately goes, "But no, don't get rid of one, it's too cool." Lysithea of course snaps, saying he has no empathy, and in this instance she's pretty correct. In this rank, it seems as if Lyn is trying to edge his way towards explaining the pros and cons of removing one of the crests, but the scientist in him takes over and pretty much only wants to talk about how sick, cool, and radical having 2 crests is.
Well, yeah, because it's the novelty that would that would pique his curiosity, so that's how it would appear at first blush, so fair enough.
Of course, Linhardt has no way of knowing the hardship Lysithea has been through, but after seeing her react to
You never said I was wrong? I don't even have to dispute that. Of course you're wrong. You're just trying to get a rise out of me. That's the whole point of the implication.
the topic so negatively the first time, he probably should have used more common sense. In the final rank, Lyn comes up with this really goofy but also very in-character analogy to try and explain Lysithea's situation. He provides the example of there being 2 pastries representing her crest. They are both delicious, however, if eaten together, they will be fatal. This of course leaves several options on the table. She can either try one, try both, or eat neither of them. It's a tough situation for both characters. On one hand, this entire situation is basically Linhardt's dream. A totally unique specimen to study who could possibly change the field of crestology forever. But if she keeps both of the crests, it's extremely likely she will die an early death. What would be the best course of action? Keeping both crests with all the benefits and hardships that it brings? Keeping just one and enjoying its benefits while losing the other? Or would you just reject both of them, having to deal with neither the benefits nor the hardships of either option? It's a complicated situation and a complicated character relationship. But at the end of it, Linhardt decides he'll support Lysithea no matter what she decides to do. It's a great support that reveals a lot about both characters. And it also shows that even though Linhardt can temporarily lose sight of his conscience for his research, at the end of the day there are boundaries he won't cross, and he cares vastly more about his friends than crests. Another aspect of Linhardt's character that I find extremely appealing is his intelligence. Or maybe it's better to describe it as his perceptiveness.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know how much he realized about Flayn. At least over the course of the conversations, because... how much would he realize about Flayn specifically? I mean, eventually he'd learn, given how their paired ending turns out, but I do wonder sometimes.
I find oftentimes in media, intelligence is presented as how much a character knows, rather than their ability to figure out new information and discern what's happening around them.
Well, to be fair, those are different skill sets. Typically, what's the joke answer when you're trying to describe the difference between wisdom and intelligence? Intelligence is knowing the tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing it doesn't belong in a fruit salad.
Three Houses fortunately gets this right, with characters such as Linhardt, Sylvain, Seteth, and Claude being great examples of people I would consider to be very smart. And that comes without the game shoving down your throat how smart they are.
And to be fair, even then, there are genuine mind games that can come into play. I think the one that comes to mind on that count is, I think it's between Hanneman and Seteth, where Hanneman effectively goads Seteth into saying, okay, I'll be a test subject in your crest research, because, well, he gets taunted about asking for Flayn to be involved, which gets a rise out of him. So, exploiting the known vulnerability there, and then Seth makes a comment about, I can't believe I let a man your age get the better of me, which, at first blush, if you don't know anything about Seth, well, it seems amusing at the moment, just the arrogance of youth, and then you really learn more about Seth and you realize, how did he get a rise out of you?
They're self-aware about what's happening in the world, making discoveries about themselves, and drawing their own conclusions about things, rather than feeling like static actors stuck to the game's script. This is showcased in Linhardt's support with Flayn, and Lyn seems to have a bit of a theory about her true identity.
To be fair, Claude Cotton's onto it as well, but still.
It begins with Lyn stating some interesting similarities between Flayn and the legendary Saint Cethlean. They look similar, they both struggle with detailed work, they were both skilled with white magic, and this interrogation slowly starts to chip away at Flayn's facade of being just a young girl. Obviously, Linhardt is entirely correct in his assumption. Flayn and Cethlean are in fact the same person, although
Spoilers.
he probably doesn't realize the danger in even stating this hypothesis out loud. Flayn, as well as Rhea and Seteth, are high priority targets for the Slithery boys, and anything that could arouse suspicion is bad news for them.
Yep.
So you can imagine the absolute shitstorm that would emerge if, Linhardt went up to Seteth and went, "Hey man, are you St. Keyhole?" In their B support, his line of questioning continues and shifts the topic towards her crest. The major crest of Saint Cethlean, which is an extremely elusive type. And as it were, Linhardt actually has a minor crest of Cethlean.
Now that I think of it, where did he end up with that? Was that from Cethlean offering a blood transfusion at some point? Or, well, to be fair, that might have actually happened. We know Rhea did same for the Imperial bloodline to get the crest of Saros. So it could be related to that, although I doubt Keyhole would just willingly allow that to occur. Unless it was something that Cethlean did of her own volition to try and just save the soldier's life, which I could see that happening, to be fair.
Meaning there's almost certainly a genetic relationship between the two. Just look at the hair.
Well, blood transfusion, although I don't know how much we could consider it, how much could you consider it blood relation, though? Well, to be fair, Nabataean blood clearly hits different, but you get the point.
This is apparently impossible, however, as Cethlean was never married. This brings up the natural question of, okay, but how do other people have your minor crest then? But whatever. And this...
Yep, okay, fine, we get to my question. Honestly, blood transfusion makes the most sense. Either given willingly to try and save a soldier's life, given to try and improve their healing capabilities in order to allow them to face those who slither in the dark, or heck, the Agarthans may have gotten a hold of it at some point, and that's why Seteth is so gung-ho about being protective.
At this point, it would seem Lyn has definitely figured out something is going on, but opts to keep it to himself. It's debatable whether or not he truly figures out they're the same person, but at least from my...
I think it would have been unavoidable with how the paired ending arises, that no, you would figure it out after a while.
perspective, Lyn did in fact figure it out, but decides it's really just not something worth making a fuss over. That doesn't mean he gives up, far from it, and instead decides his next course of action is to try and marry Flayn, and hopefully have a few crest babies with her.
Yeah, why?
It's such an extreme jump in his course of action, but also makes a lot of sense. You can kind of imagine Lyn thinking, alright, she is most certainly Cethlean. That's one mystery solved. But what would happen if we had babies? It's a great support and one of my favorites since it showcases traits of these two characters very well. It's funny, interesting, and at times even a bit nerve-wracking, as you continue to wonder if Lyn has truly figured out her secret, or if he's just coming up with crackpot theories that happen to be right.
But why even go to be fair, it's not as if he just likes Flayn, but just coming out of nowhere. Bold of you to assume that Seteth wouldn't just bring an axe down on your head immediately.
Although crests are the dominant passion of his life, he also has an interest in heroic relics, which is where his support with Catherine comes in. He very bluntly asks her to borrow Thunderbrand, just to try and use it a bit, and it shows the rather insane lengths he's willing to go to for his own research. Catherine of course says there is no way in hell he'll be able to use it. Not only would it not work at all, it would probably end up turning him into a demonic beast. But Lyn doesn't seem to care. From this support, we learn how nonchalant he is about his own well-being, as he's totally willing to risk something arguably worse than death just to get an understanding of the relic. But the real juice is in the A support, which features a very interesting line of dialogue from Linhardt. Linhardt asks Catherine where Thunderbrand came from, to which she says, the goddess. Lin then says that simple answer seems to be enough to satisfy most people. It's from the goddess, and thus people stop thinking about it. Lin's views on the church seem to range from complete apathy to slight dislike, but this is basically his only support where his views on the church are elaborated on.
And to be fair, this is something that you would expect to eventually show up given how, for lack of a better word, sacred the church even treats crests in the first place. So, given how protective they are, it's something he may have run into with Sedeth as well, given that we see same with Hanneman, so I guess that apprehension would only be natural.
For Lin
Well, apprehension is probably not the right word. Distrust, maybe?
Linhardt, the common belief that relics and crests should just be accepted as from the goddess is totally antithetical to his scientific views. It breeds a culture of ignorance, and not investigating these things more thoroughly is slowing down progress. His blooming interest in relics and the goddess is super fascinating to me, and it's something I wish the game showed us more of. I can kind of imagine an older Linhardt having moved his research beyond the scope of crests, and gone to the logical next step, trying to understand the very nature of the goddess herself. Linhardt is also a man stuck in between two conflicting realities about his crest research, as well as his status in the army. In his support with Byleth, he elaborates on how much he detests fighting, and especially taking lives. He's ultimately living his life in pursuit of comfort and peace, and it's his dream to be able to just carry on day to day with no worries about much of anything. No deadlines, no schedules, nothing but relaxed days and his research. But that's not reality. Reality is war and the constant emergence of new problems. And as much as he'd like to try and fight it, his ideal world probably never will exist. There's also the subject of his crest research, and in the A support it dawns on him that there's a conflict of interest in wanting to pursue peace, while also furthering the advancement of crestology. Crests have historically been used as tools of destruction, with crests centered on subjects like healing being extremely uncommon. There's also the heroic relics, weapons of incredible power that can only be utilized with a crest.
Well, I guess a large part of that is what they were, for lack of a better word, contorted into being. So, although, to be fair, it's not as if you would necessarily even know of that history. Oh, hang on. Google, what do you want from me? Why do you want me to verify that it's me? Come on, Okay, hang on a sec, boys. I'm gonna black out the screen just in case something silly happens. Give me a second. Yes. Stop asking. Okay. Alright, I think we're good now. Sorry about that.
Although there are obviously exceptions, it's hard to deny that they were designed for one primary focus: war. This naturally goes against Linhardt's pacifistic views, since any research he does into the subject would probably end up indirectly being used for war. A discovery made about a particular crest or how to amplify its abilities would definitely be exploited by those in power. Lin is stuck in a truly terrible position. The man who only wants a peaceful life is most interested in a subject that only seems to bring death. And it's a realization he'll sadly have to deal with for the rest of his life. Linhardt has a ton of great supports, and there's quite a few I didn't get to, but I ultimately wanted to paint a picture of his broader personality rather than examining every support he has.
Fair enough.
Linhardt is a surprisingly complicated person with a wide range of personality traits and flaws. He's intelligent, maybe even the smartest person at the Academy.
I'm not sure who I would consider the smartest. Who would I consider the smartest in the Academy? Well, as far as institutional knowledge, Hanneman probably has it beat, although raw intelligence, I'd probably give that to Claude first, but, although Claude's knowledge is less, although they're working with very different kinds of intelligence in that case, so hard to say for certain. He's definitely up there, though.
But he's also lazy, probably detrimentally so. He sometimes puts his own research above the feelings of others. And as shown in his support with Dorothea, there's even a cowardly side to his character. But these are all very human and relatable flaws. And as much as I enjoy seeing the positives of Linhardt, I can also look at his negatives and relate to the feeling. Life is exhausting, and boredom is a horrible sensation. But we all have something that makes it a little more tolerable. For Linhardt, it's of course crests. Solving the mysteries of these genetic gifts, not for a government or necessarily even for the advancement of science, but just because he thinks it's cool. Not everything in life has to be done for some arbitrary end goal like money or status. Just do it because it's fun and it makes you happy. Never lose sight of your passions, but not at the expense of other aspects of your life. Find that balance between work and play and you'll go far. Linhardt's great, absolutely my favorite Three Houses character, and one I'm really glad I was able to kinda attach myself to throughout the story. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.
Fair enough, I suppose then. Let's see, anything after this? Guess not. Alrighty. Good video. I don't know if I necessarily had a lot to say to that, as a lot of it is information, well, some of it's information I'd forgotten about, but a lot of it is very much a recounting of, hey, here's all these facets of this guy, and given that the video he pulled this from, going through all the supports, I think is an hour long, or maybe an hour and a half. Actually, it was, let me pull up the exact one. So it was Collector Tagami that he had pulled from. Oh, almost 2 hours. So actually, hour 42. So we're talking a ton. And to be fair, I think that includes both male and female Byleth. But still, there is a lot of conversation tucked away in here. And then this was all before we even got anything from Warriors 3 Hopes, given that this released in 2020. So, yeah. Quite a bit of time dedicated to each character. There's a reason why the character writing in Three Houses is so celebrated, and a large part of it is because they spend a lot of time digging into each and every one. So, yeah, this is just 20 minutes of just, hey, here's all of these character traits and how they make an interesting person and create an interesting dynamic. So, yeah, fun times about. So, that concludes the react part of the night. Now, I get to have some fun. Might take a little bit to set up the next, well, what I have in mind for this, as I ended up getting 2 games recently, somewhat off the back of hype, but you know what? With a name like what I have here, I couldn't resist checking it out. So I'm going to mute desktop audio real quick, especially since it looks like I'll need to adjust the screen size here. Give me a sec. All right. All right, here we go. Oh, it actually got closer than I expected. All right. Gonna knock this down a hefty amount. So, let me just adjust the screen size real quick. Alright, I need to hit this. Oh, what's up, Cheeto? You could tell that I'm about to play a game involving cats, huh? You knew. Hang on a second. Yes, this is a very silly game name. I mean, the name itself, this is the latest game from Edmund McMullen, I think is his name. And, yeah. 24-hour Meow stream. Yes, exactly. And here's how you know it's a good game.
Meow. Meow.
Pretty much. Was that Markiplier? Hang on. So, I have no idea what I'm expecting for this. I've got another cat that's trying to get my attention. Science! Scared you, didn't I? I know how scary a buzzword like science can be these days. Oh, look, he's so cute. Why is the Why was my cursor... Oh well, but trust me when I say science can actually be a good thing sometimes. Take this table for instance. A science made this table and the floor it sits on. A science, huh? There are even people out there who believe that a science made you and I. But I digress. The point I was trying to make here is that cats are a science too. A science that I, Thomas A. Beaties, invented. But what do you have to do with all of this? Well, word on the street is you're a bit of a felinologist yourself. Am I now? I know we just met, but I bet if you and I put our brains together, we could actually change the world. Alright, looks like I need to bump up the audio on this real quick. With cats! Now take a gander at these fine specimens. This is my latest batch, straight out of their biovats. Choose two, a boy and a girl. Trust me, you'll find out why later. This is how you know this is a good video game. Why are you looking at me like that, Cheeto? You want something, boy? Whoop. We'll choose the void. I choose another one. What's wrong with Mr. Dude? You're just giving me grief now, aren't you? Their pieces will be... Oh, right. Is it nature just cruel? You're the one who did that. But it doesn't have to be. In fact, I think with my brains and your ability to choose less than ideal cats, we could really shake things up. Hell, with enough cats, I bet we could reverse time, maybe even make dying impossible. All I need is a nuke, radioactive blood, and a bit of elf. Yep. Don't worry, I'll be sure to harvest some for Mr. Kibble's elbows before he's incinerated. Now go, my child. Go into the world and hoard some cats. Right. So what have we got here? Well, I'm sure we will see all in due time. He kicked you out, huh? Yeah, he does that. Name's Butch, and even though I could give a frig if you live or die, I can't help but see a bit of myself in you. If you get what I mean. You want to survive in Boone County? You're gonna need to learn how to fight. So listen up. This is your team. These are your enemies. Your goal is to kill them all. Kill every last one of them! You can tell because of that paw print thing above Mika's head. This is Mika's basic attack. It's melee range, you'll need to move next to the rat to hit it. This is your movement action. You can move once per turn. What is this accent I'm doing? Click it and then click the tile you want to move to. Alright. Now that you are next to the rat, you can attack it. This is your basic attack. Yep. Once per turn. Sweet, you really destroyed that bastard. Did you notice that you got a buff when you killed that thing? It's because of that passive ability. Hover over to learn what it does. Useful. You can also hover over your cat to learn what the buff does, too. Okay. There are also spells. You only have one so far, and unfortunately you lack the mana to cast it. This is how much mana the spell costs. This is how much mana you have. You gain mana at the end of your turn equal to your ideas, well, your light bulbs. There's nothing left to do, so end your turn. It's now Gappy's turn. Gappy is a ranged basic attack. While selecting where to move to, you can see a preview of your basic attack's range in red. Move into range to attack, or as close as you can get. Unfortunately, you are still not in range to attack the Tom-Tom. However, you do have enough mana to cast one of your spells. Take a look at Roll here. Roll only costs 4. And you have 5. Click Roll and then roll closer to that thing. Alright. Attack it. What did you do? Landed the shot. That Tom-Tom is pretty thick, however, so it'll take a few more hits to kill. Lobbed shot. Do I even want to know what you lobbed over? Meow. Alrighty. Spit, huh? Some good spitting, of course. You actually still have enough mana to cast Spit again. You can cast spells as many times per turn as you want, as long as you have the mana. So Spit again, make it a real... Why? Good job. At this point, I trust that you can finish the rest of the fun on your own. So I'm gonna go hide in those bushes and judge you from afar. Good luck. Alright. And just swipe. So wet. So you've got a ranged attack, so you'll probably want to... Whoops. Well, I messed up. Meh. Alright then. Beginner's luck. Okay, now listen. Each time you finish combat, one of your cats is gonna level up. Check out old Gappy. He's about to get a whole lot better. Just look at all these options. Originally, I was gonna let you choose yourself, but I feel the need to point something out. There's a pretty awesome combo here. Check out Gappy's current passive effect up there. Alright. Now read what Sunburn does. Fair enough. Sunburn makes things burn, and Hot-Blooded makes burn burning. So take Sunburn already. Or not, it's your funeral. Meow. Someone's learning. Okay, but remember, every cat is different, so always check out what your cat's passive ability does. A cat's passive can make or break a run, and combos win games. Always be on the lookout for abilities to the combo. What's the hidden event? Which blocks your path, huh? You're lucky your ideas is so high or you'd be chewing rocks. Small catnip baggie. Gain 7 mana, so it's a one-use thing. Okay. Alright, so presumably you can have 3 cats at once. Looking at that, maybe more. I guess we'll see. A stick. A melee attack with +1 reach. Okay. Sweat dish. Alright. Train Pebbles here myself. He's about to rock your world. Show me what you got. Oh, also, one last tip before I leave it up to you. Attack from behind to do more damage. Alright, so Pebbles moves first. Presumably that... Cool. What is this? Oh shoot, you're moving again. Ooh, that did something. Okay, so we may want to stagger things a little bit to avoid that in future, huh? Alright, lob him. Alright, I want to hold on. Actually, how much am I getting? Let's roll you this way so that we won't have that happen again. Hi, Cheeto. Hey, so you might not know this already, but take a look up here. This is the order that you and your enemies take their turns. The turn order is usually the same every round, so pay attention to it. Or don't. Rude. Alright. Oh, damn it. I'm assuming there's no undo button. Well, I'm messing up horribly. Oh, interesting. Huh. Fair enough. Sunburn, go! So now you're gonna take burn damage every turn by the looks of it. Alright, run away. Although it looks like Pebbles is likely not gonna last the day. Okay. Can I inflict both burn and wet? No, it gets rid of both. Okay. Yeah, looks like we're not gonna win this one. Yeah, Push is gonna kill Pebbles soon. Get away, get away, get away. Although you're probably still dead anyway. Oh, missed. Nice. Okay, we may be fine after all. I guess we'll find out. Whoa, nice. Hey, hold on, buddy. Don't end your turn just yet. You can still attack with your weapon. Weapons and other items can be used once a turn, even if you already used your attack. Useful. Alright, so we'll probably lose Pebbles, but we'll at least win. Where are you going? Boulder drop. Rude! Well, damn. It looks like Gappy got hit pretty hard. Don't worry, though. He's not dead yet, only downed. When a cat gets downed in a fight, they get injured and one of their stats gets reduced permanently. Don't let their body get hit too many times, or they will actually die. As long as your other cats can finish the fight, your downed cats will still survive. So finish the fight! Okay, fair enough. Good to know. We're done. Nice. I wish Kibbles were here. Okay, calm down. Why? Let's see. Congrats, you did good out there. This marks the end of your first little adventure. It's time to go home. You will bring back any food, coins, items, treasures, and injuries you gained during your journey. These supplies will hopefully prove useful to you at some point. Oh, and if you ever want to save and exit a run, just click that thing. Bye. Alright. Okay then. Hello, neighbor. Oh boy. Why? Mr. Why? No doubt heard about me around town. And yes, all the rumors are true. You're weird? I spread them myself, of course. Just like my legs. Why? 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 They look busted. Well, one of them is. Cats that have already been on an adventure are retired. That means they won't be going on any more adventures. So why don't you take these guys inside so they can relax comfortably? Well, they seem pretty comfortable, I guess. So, you can now end the day and watch what happens when the lights go off. When you end the day, every cat will eat one food. Make sure you always have more than enough. Of course. Of course. What an eventful night. Don't tell my wife what we saw. Aw, you have a new kitten. She will need to grow up before she can go on an adventure, though. Don't worry, there is something in the water here that makes them grow up in like one day. Also, look, a stray cat has come to your house looking for love. You should totes take them inside, right? I think I knew who that was. Oh no. Once you have made enough kittens or collected enough strays, you can take them out on an adventure to find more supplies. You'll want 4 fresh kitties to send out on an adventure, but you don't have enough yet. So just keep bending the day and collecting strays until you do. Also, you can right-click the kitten to see if she inherited anything from her parents, and check her stats. Of course. Nothing of significance occurred. May as well. Alright, so now that we have 4 cats. Alright. So, what do we do now? Of course. 2 kittens, huh? Alright. Oh yay! With that new stray there, you should have enough cats to go on another adventure. Go put them in the adventure box and get ready for a journey. Alright. Oh, that'll go well. Why not? It'll be funny. And I'm assuming Mika's the same way? I guess the ones with the hats are retired, huh? Fair enough. Okay, that's why they wanted me to rest one more time, because I couldn't send those 2 out. Callers. So what have you got? So you're melee. Why? So you have range, so... May as well. And then... Mage, huh?
Oh, meow. Meow. Meow, meow.
Why? Meow. Alright, let's see what happens. Let's see,
Meow.
yeah, that should be fine. Alrighty. What kind of adventure are we going to embark upon? Okay, so we have some flies. Alright, let's get in there and smack them. Nice and simple. Interesting. Oh wait, these are enemies as well, huh? Okay, may as well hit them while we're at it.
Oh, meow.
Those look like spikes. I don't know if they're spikes or grass. Let's just do that, I suppose.
Meow.
Interesting. So that's... fascinating. May as well. And then this won't kill the big guy, so may as well hit the small fry. Oh yeah, the counterattack. Useful. That gets rid of those 2 without too much trouble. Rude. Smack. Nice and simple. This time, anyway. What's that do? Alright, so... Interesting. Deals damage and knockback in a line. Give 2 mana to a unit. That could be useful. What's your passive? Ooh. So we could go absolutely absurd with... Yeah, Cheeto? Actually, if that counts as a spell, I don't think it does, though. Actually, would this count as a spell? Well, you're giving up 3 mana to give 2 mana, so it doesn't work out in the grand scheme of things. Let's go with this. Alright. Alright. There goes way through. Actually, we got a new item. Interesting. So it'll get burned, but who's our tank?
Yeah.
That looks ridiculous. We'll go with it anyway, because it's funny. Alright. Let's see, so we've got a bunch of strays. You can't move to get in range of any of them, so you may as well back off a little bit. Go ahead and rest. Alright, so the breast slowly approach.
Meow.
Meow.
Boom. And then, I suppose just to get through these in a hurry. That takes care of that.
Meow.
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 Alright, let's see. Yeah. Okay, that didn't take either of them down. Caused them to flee, though. Take that. Nice and simple. Alright, so we had a decent amount of damage inflicted there. So they'll be running back. Hiya. Nice and easy.
Oh, meow. Meow.
Alright. Tails will just knock you out the rest of the way. Alright. Relatively simple. 5 weak shots, each one has a 50% chance to... Interesting. What's your passive? Basic attack can target tiles adjacent to allies. We'll go with this. See what kind of trouble that gets us into. Egg sac? Do I even want to know? You spawn spiderlings. That's random. Here, you take it. I'm sure it'll have no negative consequences at all whatsoever. Finds a dumpster, huh? Lock keeping it shut, huh? Well, this gives us the best chance, so let's try it. Forces the lid open. Got 20 food, apparently. Okay. Useful. There's a hard path? Fenrir, really? Air trap. Smack. Ah, you got dodge rate too, huh? You're just gonna put that down everywhere, aren't you? And you're gonna expect me to just eventually remember where all of these are, aren't you? I'm sure that'll have no negative consequences. At least that lets you force yourself forward a little bit. Even though you'll probably get smacked this turn now. Yet more bear traps, huh? Well, this lets you hit us at least. Well, lets us hit you. Finally. Where's the next bear trap? Okay. I'm gonna forget where all these bear traps are eventually. Ow! Rude. There's one over there. That's fine. I'll do it too. Ah. Do you know how to do anything other than bear traps? Crap. Well, just keep smacking, I suppose, with what you can. Enough with the bear traps, dang it. That should do a decent amount. And then really make it hit.
Meow meow.
Alright, not able to do anything with that yet. That wouldn't really help. That makes me feel better, though.
Meow.
Yeah, that should be enough for now.
Meow.
What is with all the dang bear traps? Oh, you're actually attacking us now. Can you lick yourself? No, it doesn't look it. So you're immobilized right now. So if anybody can get next to him, we'll be in good shape. Of course. As well rest if you're going to be immobilized for a bit. You really like your bear traps, don't you? I think this avoids bear traps? Nope, I'm wrong. I'm forgetting where they all are. Oh, another one? So annoying. Alright, I can finally start hitting you. And doing more than that, just hit you. There we go. Alright, that should prevent you from going anywhere for a while.
Meow.
And then you find a way to keep moving around anyway. Fire away. Of course. That should be fine. Trying to keep avoiding us, huh? Just continuously playing keep away. Alright, so you're stuck where you are right now. Alright, just hit the rest button. It looks like this is very much just playing delay tactics at this stage.
Meow.
May as well claim that. Hit you with something. And just to make this more fun. Alright, where's the bear trap going this time? Please stop. Alright, at this point, his only purpose is just to annoy us. Die. That's not dying. Have a bear trap. I can do it too. Of course. Please stop.
Oh, meow.
Ah, shoot. Messed that one up.
Meow.
Just to make me feel better, even if it'll do nothing. Please stop. Die, please. Thank you. That took a while. They should have more bear traps? No, please stop. Well, that could have been useful. Just that attacker contact you have a 10% chance to get petrified. Alrighty. Now we've got a choice. What else did I get?
Meow. Oh, meow.
Of course. Huh. Well, that seems to be locked right now for whatever reason, so we'll just go this way. Alright then. Old Shun wears it for a while. Very well. So what sort of trouble's this way? So a bunch of bugs. 2 movements, so we'll just go over this way. Quick, collect the money. Oh, that's a bug. Well, an enemy. Presumably, anyway.
Meow.
Alright, see what you can do. Almost gets him. There we go. Well, luckily we had that going for us. Rude! Alright, go ahead and knock this guy out real quick. Cool. And I don't need to worry about that this time. Or maybe I should have. Hiya. Cool. Nice. That keeps things simple. Which is better story-wise, Engage or Fates? I don't know enough about Engage, well, about Fates, I should say, to comment on that. Not enough about Engage, come on. Just a poke. That doesn't seem worth to me. I'm sure that'll have no negative consequences. Finds a cat-shaped hole in the wall, huh? Why are all of them get in the hole? They move on without? Hang on. Hold up, what? That was a bad thing, actually? Well, nice knowing you, I guess. I'm gonna buy something. Well, I guess we'll see if we're fine without the other cat. The round wildlings, huh? Versus the radical rat.
Tasty legs and crispy thighs.
What?
On my mind. I'm so hungry now, I'm gonna chase 'em, grab 'em, fry 'em. So tasty,
Wait, is that a friend?
so tasty, tasty legs. So tasty, tasty legs.
I can't honestly tell if you're... The heck is that? Rat bomb?
Shake, shake, shake 'em and bake 'em. Shake, shake, shake 'em and bake 'em. Grab 'em by the tail, tastier than snails.
Alright, now that you're in the middle of us, time to start making you hurt. Oh. Why did you end up so distorted?
All of my nights, I'm chasing rats. All of my days,
Ooh, actually. Make you deal with the explosion on that bomb. Turtle. Ooh. Ow. That did a lot to you.
all of my nights, I'm chasing rats. Chasing the rats. All of my days, I'm taking naps. And in my
The heck?
dreams, I'm the king of cats. King of cats. I will hunt you down. There will be no
Ooh, critical hit. Nice.
bones littered at my feet.
Ah, sucker.
All I've got is rats to eat. I'm not
Alright, you'll go to sleep, but that's okay. Should be far enough out of the way.
business on my street.
Alright, good. You set yourself on fire. Excellent. Now hit with the stick, then hit again.
Put 'em in a fryer, stick 'em on a griddle.
Why?
The bread, stuff a rat in the middle.
Who wrote this?
Not too finicky, I'll make a fricassee. For you and me, babe. Eating rats.
How is this going better than the last one? Alright, you'll be lit on fire, but it's fine, I think. Be good? Yay! That went well. The heck am I listening to?
For fancy things. Chasing rats when my body sings.
That's useful. Can't go with those yet. Why are you all bloodied up? An electric melee attack that can chain through a G. Ooh. Once per battle. Okay. Alrighty. You can now adventure to the sewers, apparently.
Meow. Meow.
Well,
Meow.
but...
Meow meow.
Oh.
Meow. Meow.
Oh. Eh? Spooky one? He tells on us? We live under your house? I have questions. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. You're listening to the most beautiful and creative and historically song to date, oh boy. And to build, huh? Gonna wanna have more house made? Do need to be paid, we don't work for kisses no more. What? All over this place? Send a kitty out? Oh boy. Want retired cats only, huh? Okay, so if I want to get rid of... Let's see. So I guess it's a matter of which cats do I want to keep for their abilities to try and get the most out of what we have. That's what I'd guess, anyway. Why? I shouldn't even be surprised. Oh, okay, a new caller. The cleric, huh? Hoity-toity religious type, of course. No one going down. And if someone does, just pray on it. Okay. Once retired cat. Okay, so the cats effectively act as a currency all unto itself, huh? So, I just need to send along a cat I don't mind getting rid of. Specifically one that's specifically one that's retired, though. I'm not gonna get copyright struck for all this, am I? I don't think I will, but what the hell am I listening to? And the sunburn may be useful, and the roll. Chasing units.
Meow.
Alright, you're going in there. You're gonna go join Frank. I'm sure this will have no negative consequences. Oh boy. One seems to get us. Oh boy. A house on top of the house? What? You just wait and see? I have questions.
99.9 lives. WMEW.
I have so many questions. Of course. Of course, it's something horrifying. Time to a fight. So one got rewarded with a benefit and the other got jinxed? That's random. And then there's new stuff over here. Sewer monster man built you a pipe, huh? Well, don't feel special. I got one too. Hey, that gives me an idea. How about you and I go into business together? You send me cats with combat experience, and I let you kiss what? What do you mean, no? Yeah, well, what about I expand that little box of yours then, huh? I'm talking about that box by your house, sicko. I can upgrade that old shoebox for you, that way you can hold more sharp objects. Trust me, it's worth it. Just send me a cat who's killed some stuff. I'll look you up.
County, let's inject a bit of patriotism into our morning. Here's
What? And then there's this weirdo. Talk of the town these days, huh? I have so many questions. What do you call this? Oh boy. What? Why? Why? Freaking why? But listen, why? And so you're gonna replace it with fur babies? Of course. Send me your kittens. So, as long as I don't send an ugly kitten your way, it's fine. What defines ugly? That has its uses, I suppose.
Oh, meow.
So you also want a cat that has combat experience. Well, I mean, looking at how well, did you get anything useful? Okay, you got the sunburn ability. I guess that has its uses, so... You know what? Have. Upgrade the storage box, huh? Want cats that have ventured further from home? Okay.
Why don't you dip your whiskers into this next one?
Wow, it's gonna take a lot, huh?
Claude.
Wilp. Alright, I think that's enough. I think that's enough of that. Okay, I can check that out later. Alright, that'll do. At least for that particular hilarity. So, one more game tonight. I don't know how long I'll spend with this one, because hang on, why am I dropping frames? What the hell, OBS? Get back to normal. Such a sight indeed. Those poor kittens. Yeah, probably. Speaking of cats, you need something now, Statesman? You have something to say? You silly boy. Uh-huh. Yeah? Well, first it was Cheeto demanding attention, and now it's you. Real quick. We'll make it quick. Alright, boy, what do you want? Be right back. Alright, that's enough of that. So, final thing on the chopping block. I wanted to do a test of a very different, well, an old but new game. So, before we get too far, I have a confession to make. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I logged into my Battle.net account. Yeah, that's it. That's the confession. I logged into my Battle.net account. While this opens up, I'll go ahead and target it real quick. they put Diablo 2 on Steam and gave it a new class. I had my trepidations about the Diablo 2 remaster, and had therefore avoided it. But then I see that they added an entirely new class, and I think, okay, I gotta see what this is about. So, created an online character just to try and test things out. And now that I have tested things out, I mean, new class. New class. Presumably we won't be able to use it in the classic mode, but new freaking class. There was no catch, I just went to go order a 50-ton beer. Yes, very much blasphemy. Very much blasphemy. How dare I? How freaking dare I? But you know what? Technically, my only copy of Diablo 2 is my father's CD. And since that he's living very far away from me right now... Well, I guess I technically had a digital copy of Lord of Destruction, but still. What should I call this guy? There. I'm gonna be extremely uncreative. So, let's see what this guy is capable of, shall we? I'm assuming I won't be able to toggle in between classic. Yep.
Greetings, stranger. I'm not surprised to see your kind here. Many adventurers have traveled this way since the recent troubles began. No doubt you've heard about the tragedy that befell the town of Tristram. Some say that Diablo, the Lord of Terror, walks the world again. I don't know if I believe that, but a dark wanderer did travel this route a few weeks ago. He was headed east to the mountain pass guarded by the rogue monastery. Maybe it's nothing, but evil seems to have trailed in his wake. You see, shortly after the wanderer went through, the monastery's gates to the pass were closed, and strange creatures began ravaging the countryside. Until it's safer outside the camp and the gates are reopened, I'll remain here with my caravan. I hope to leave for Lut Gholein before the shadow that fell over Tristram consumes us all. If you're still alive then, I'll take you along. You should talk to Akara, too. She seems to be the leader of this camp. Maybe she can tell you more.
Alrighty. Here we are.
I can't do that here.
So I'm not... Oh, right. Of course I'm not allowed to take any action. So what have we got? Pretty much everything we need to know. Yep, pretty much.
Greetings. I am Akara, High Priestess of the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye. I welcome you, traveler, to our camp, but I'm afraid I can offer you but poor shelter within these rickety walls. You see, our ancient sisterhood has fallen under a strange curse. The mighty citadel, from which we have guarded the gates to the east for generations, has been corrupted by the evil demoness Andariel. I still can't believe it. She turned many of our sister rogues against us and drove us from our ancestral home. Now the last defenders of the sisterhood are either dead or scattered throughout the wilderness. I implore you, stranger, please help us. Find a way to lift this terrible curse, and we will pledge our loyalty to you for all time. There is a place of great evil in the wilderness. Kasha's rogue scouts have informed me that a cave nearby is filled with shadowy creatures and horrors from beyond the grave. I fear that these creatures are massing for an attack against our encampment. If you are sincere about helping us, find the Dark Labyrinth and destroy the foul beasts. May the Great Eye watch over you.
Alrighty then. So, quest log. Yep. So, real quick. Alright, let's see. Where was the... Ah, okay, it's tree. Alright, so... Alright, so I'll definitely want to check that out in due time. So what do I have available now? So is that because of the... Yep. Okay, so this is... Alright, so they're putting... So on a dagger. Interesting. Alright. Let's see what else we got. So this will be summon goatmen. And then just improving our control demons. Okay, fair enough. Alrighty. Let's get out there. Let's see, entrance is this way? Off we go then. I'll just chapping up too. Jay, when it drops half a frame in a zeptosecond. Oh boy.
These creatures of darkness shall yield to me, or perish.
Oh, I totally meant to hit that guy. Totally. Okay, that looks silly. Well, the actual abilities look... Well, the actual attack looks cool. A bit... Alrighty. Damaged boots, huh? And they got equipped anyway, because of course they did. Ooh. I'll take that. Alrighty. Pretty much as you'd expect from Diablo being Diablo. Feels weird to have this music associated with this sort of art style. Kind of wish that we could see the Warlock in a, quote, traditional sense, but... no matter. Suppose it wouldn't make sense to create art assets for the original style of game. You'd probably want this to remain more discreet than that, which, fair enough. Get over here. There we go. Probably should be following the road in order to reach the main objective, so I can at least get the waypoint and whatnot, but either way. Already giving me more. Ooh. Alright, what do we got? Let's see. Well, we don't have any weapon that we desperately need to equip yet, so... Probably should be putting more to Vitality just so I can stand alongside my minions, to be fair. Alright, so I should be able to... Yep. Alright, so can I summon more than one... So can I have more than one active at once? No. Okay. Only one. Got it. Very well. Let's go find someone to hit. Very hard. Would you rather 40p do 240 FPS or 4K 12 FPS? Probably 480, honestly. It depends on the kind of game, I suppose, because 12 FPS sounds borderline unplayable. Because I believe it's 24 FPS that's required in order to fake the, well, give the illusion of movement. If you don't even have that going for you, you're in trouble. Useful. It's so pretty. Already giving me a fulminating potion? Okay. Bit awkward to have it resummon like that, but... Though, I suppose it only appears that way because that was the original draw distance for the minions before, whenever you'd have a horde of skeletons. Guess that makes sense from a design standpoint to keep it like that, so that you'd avoid doing too much to tamper with the original game, well, with the original game mechanics. I'm gonna need to purchase some mana potions next time I stop by town. I did at least pick up a town portal scroll, so I'll at least be able to double back pretty quickly. Alternatively, I'm early enough in that I can probably level up pretty swiftly too. Ooh, useful. Let's see, the Goatman hasn't been really threatened all that much. Ooh. Anybody else? At this point, I probably should just be following the road in order to at least see to the Den of Evil. Probably won't spend too long with this, I just want to make sure it's working. I've been operating out of the test OS for this entire stream. Here's the Den of Evil. Alrighty.
The Den of Evil. Let's root them all out.
Wipe them out. All of them. Ooh, unidentified amulet. Alrighty. +2 to life, that's useful. Not a major boost right now, but it's still something. Take that, sucker. Ooh, nice. Oh, that's the goat man. We're fine. Okay. While the goat man takes care of things for us. That should be fine for now. Alright, skills. So, summoned and bound demons, so it improves everything. I wonder how much I should be focusing on this. I can't remember how much level scaling occurs in this game. So I'm not sure what to put into each. So let's see, we've got the passive. What's the Eldritch? X is your weapon to impair enemies and add magic damage. Interesting. Alright. And then improve your ability to levitate your equipped weapon with your mind. Interesting. So... Huh. That's why it was so that explains it. Huh. Fascinating. Okay. Interesting mix of... Well, interesting, huh? Let's see, bonuses from... Huh. That's a hefty amount of damage added on. Huh. Well, I guess I can explore that later. I'm sure there will be plenty of people who will find the ultimate builds that can be created for this. So, I guess time will tell us to how that ends up working out. Well, I should have actually burned some mana before doing that, but no matter. Game looks nice at least. Holding a good frame rate. Get back. Get over here. Ah, of course. Alright, so this gives better... Let's see, so that's a buckler. And it doesn't look like I can play inventory Tetris to get you where I want you, so... Never mind the goat man running through town. Excuse me while I go drop stuff off and trade stuff. Alright, so... Don't need this. Might be worth having as a backup, actually. Let's see. No difference there. Alright, we can go ahead and stow away the amethyst for now. So this was the other thing they added on, is that you've got the personal and shared stash, but you also can now put gems into here. And actually, there's a gem I gathered from another online character, so... I don't know how much I would end up using the online characters necessarily, but hey. Since we managed to pick up a decent number of potions, and just leave a couple behind, since I didn't need too many this time thanks to the goat man. Should probably get a scroll or book of town portal though, just to make things simpler on me. Can't buy a book of town portal yet, huh? Well, we'll make sure we at least have the fast route back. That'll have to do for now. Is there anything I need to work on durability-wise? Doesn't look it. Okay. We can worry about that later. Should be a few more monsters to slay in here. Oh, another key. Nice. Whoa, okay, that looked weird. Was that online shenanigans? Might want to make an offline version of this so I can keep track of that. I'm not too worried about trying to be the optimal build or spend too much time online, because this is something I played largely offline the last time around. Although, the brother did join me when I played this the first time, so I might be intrigued on joining again as well. I don't know if he'd go for the Warlock necessarily, but still. Any use? Ooh, useful. Quite useful. Good AC. Anybody else? Anybody else? You! Die. Okay, I heard that, but where is it? Probably on the other side near the stairs, huh? Most likely. Hard to beat the music either. Oh, how I missed you. Too bad I can't, well, too bad there's no classic mode while in this character, although I suppose I can show it off by going to my sorcerer. Well, the test sorcerer I set up anyway. And it looks like I'm running out of sprint. To be fair, it's early game still. Eventually you reach the point where it stops being a concern. Alright, let's start blasting. Oh, hey, brother.
You're not gonna believe it, but this time it was Statesman being the window boy.
Really?
Yeah!
Huh.
Also, cool bats flying around.
Yep, they've added a lot to the background and atmosphere. Kept the music and sound effects pretty much the same though, as you would expect, and probably for the best that they did.
Probably gave him a slight remaster.
Not even that, actually. It sounds exactly like it used to. The only thing that's been, quote, remastered is the new character getting different sound effects.
Oh, they added a new class?
This... Well, do you recognize this class?
What is it?
It is the new class.
What's it called?
It is a Warlock.
Ah, so a mix of both range and melee?
Sort of. Well, let me bring up the skills real quick so you can take a look. Oh, I just got another skill point I can put on. So they gave me a decent amount of vitality that I can play with. So they favored vitality and then put some energy and dexterity on. Gave minor to strength. But they gave a summoning section where you can either summon or even bind of demons to you. So the idea being is that you turn your opponent's weapons against you, as it were.
Well,
and
against
then,
them.
Yeah, and then you've got a little bit that you can use to augment your melee effect, which I'd be curious to see how that ends up working, because it seems that you could do a heavily melee-focused build if you really wanted to, because you'd even have this cleave to get some AoE damage in, presumably. And then a passive that lets you just add what looks to be a pretty effective, just straight up boost to your physical damage just right from the jump. That might just be a good one-point wonder based on my limited understanding of things. And then you've got various demons that you can eventually summon and then bind.
Incidentally, how many 8 players in multiplayer can play at a time?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, debating whether we could get enough to do every class of this.
I think you can do up to 8. I'm not sure.
Well, thinking of it, it would be fun to see if we could do that. See what it would be like to have all the classes. Yeah.
Let's see.
Remember when I pulled that joke that you didn't see coming?
Which one?
You were asking me what the gambler could beat of your things.
Oh, on that old Let's Play video? That's really old.
Yeah.
That's practically lost media. It is somewhere on this channel, but...
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
already out of
but it
inventory
was
space. Hang on, where's the waypoint?
Yeah, it's also where... Yeah.
Alright, at least I have it now.
It's
What's my inventory look like?
It was among the clips in one of your videos of best moments from the channel.
I don't remember that. Well, Did I put that in? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think he did.
That sounds vaguely familiar, but it's been a while.
It also included stuff from Undertale.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Stuff.
I had posted that to the review channel a while back.
Yeah.
Either way, let's see. That's probably a good enough showcase. Oh.
You have cleansed the den of evil. You've earned my trust.
Yeah, go for it.
And may yet restore my faith in humanity. The
Okay.
reward is training in the skill of your choice.
Alright then. May as well seeded that real quick. So it'll do extra damage, gets a decent amount of life added onto it. It's a bonus from... Where's Deathmark? Okay, it's that. Forces your demon to teleport and attack an enemy. Okay. 1% chance of crushing blow per level. Interesting. It's already got a 5% chance, so... Does it say what the crushing blow does? Presumably it's a stronger attack, but still. The question is, am I willing to go close enough to where I would want to risk going it all out on this? Although, I don't have a lot of mana involved, and this is being a major mana drain. I'm not sure how I want to build this guy. Though. Alright, so the attack speed and well, actually... What's this do? Life, extra life to your demons. It says demon singular. I wonder why it says demon singular. Not just a... Oh, jeez. Sacrifice your demon entirely? Huh. Interesting. So presumably... Huh. I'm not sure how to approach this. It does look like there's... Extra attack rating. Oh, we may as well experiment. I don't expect much from this anyway. So let's see. May as well wander a little bit more, just to try and get a sense for this. For now, let's sell stuff. Oh!
Welcome, Outlander. My rogue scouts have just reported.
Alright, yep. Alright, Blood Raven, yep. They added a reset button? And poison resist has its uses, so we'll take it. Alright, I'm starting to get a few too many health potions at this point, dang. I know I'll eventually end up burning through them quickly if history is any indication, so... Oops, want those. That should do for now. That should do for now. Okay, let's get back out there and beat up a few more monsters just to get a sense for this. I think there's a little bit more I can check out on the Bloodmoor. May as well just be thorough so I can try this out. Alright, so. Presumably that's an effect on just my physical damage, right? If I'm understanding it correctly. Yep. Only lasts for 6 seconds, though. So I'd have to cast it pretty frequently. Huh. Seems to be doing a hefty amount, though. Just based on that damage. I don't know if the Hex itself is worth it for more than just a singular point. Especially when I can just start blasting and call it a Oh yeah, stuff like that can happen, I forgot. This is old school Diablo, right? Where you're just minding your own business and suddenly a shrine you hit suddenly goes kaboom. I'm hearing the goat man and getting confused, huh? Better resummon it if it's taking that much damage. Although at this point I'm close enough. Yeah, we've been going for a while. May as well leave it here. Okay. Neat class. I'll be very curious to see how it ends up working out in the long run. Definitely gonna have to experiment with this.
Incidentally, do you think I'd enjoy the Warlock class?
I have no idea. Either way, I'm about to wrap up.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call it there. Alrighty. I'll go ahead and kill desktop audio so that we can just talk a little bit. Show! Interesting time. I'll have plenty to dig through thanks to Mugenics and now this game. So, that'll keep me well occupied amongst the backlog I'm slowly trying to whittle away at as well. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about plans for both short-term and long-term. So, first up, let's see, as far as the streaming schedule is concerned, I think I'll be keeping Saturday as the consistent stream time for a while now. Well, for the next while, as it is the most reliable time I have. The only reason I backed off was because there was something else I wished to do for that time frame, but with that being moved to another day, I've got Saturday back as a consistent time slot, so may as well exploit that to continue working through the main thing at hand, which will continue to be Xenoblade for at least the next couple of months, at the rate we're going. And honestly, it's probably for the best that I had this year, as it allowed me to buy time on that count, make sure that we keep getting through it at a reasonable clip, and to make sure I can prepare offline to keep getting through that at a reasonable clip. So, we'll have that to look forward to. As far as other content is concerned, let's see, the review channel is going to have a decent amount over the next couple of months. The Metroid Prime 4 review is almost done, which I am very pleased with. I'm currently in the polish phase on that. If everything goes well, it'll be at some point in the middle of next week when it's ready. At which point I'll do the usual ping in the Discord saying, "Oi, look at this, it's shiny. It's done. I have thoughts on the Metroid. Many thoughts." This game had trouble. Lots of trouble, to be fair. So, all of that to look forward to. And then, after that, I think I know what I'll be doing on the review channel. I cannot do English apparently. I'll be making a jab at Metroid Prime 4 by comparing its character work to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And by virtue of that, if I'm going to be making that jab, I should make my opinion on Age of Imprisonment known, so I've got a 10 to 15 minute video talking about that in the works. I've already recorded most of the audio I'll need for it, so that'll keep things simple. Should be able to get the audio component done before the end of the month and have it done at a pretty quick clip. Though, that'll also depend on how quick I am on everything else, because I was reminded recently by a comment on the Freerun response video that, hey, you had promised a different video, specifically a video essay, basically going, "Oi, stop shoving politics into everything." Because the Freerun response video ended up being another example of someone trying to read too much into a work and wanting it to be more in line with their particular beliefs, so, well. And given how hectic the last couple of months have been, honestly, I think we could use that reminder, so it was a good time to get that reminder to make that video. Most of the audio was already finished from working on it at another point, so in theory, it'll be quicker. I've just got a few revisions to make, so a bit of audio to record and revise there. So it should be relatively quick to get to the video editing component. I just don't have a clear idea as to how things will time out, especially since I also wanted to make sure that I had time for, well, a bunch of things to be fair. But I also wanted to make sure I had time to focus on the Fire Emblem Engage video, because that's going to take a while. That's going to take a long while. Just the audio editing component at my usual clip will take 2 months to work through. So I want to make sure that I do make time for that, as well as other projects. So I don't have a clear timeline on when all of this will be sorted. So, Metroid Prime 4, I can pretty well guarantee that it'll be ready at some point next week. The Age of Imprisonment video will probably be within a month of that. And then beyond that, maybe a couple more months to get the video essay sorted, as I'm also working through a couple other things. That's what I'm expecting anyway, so I'm going to be kept rather busy trying to see to all of that, but honestly, should make for a good time. I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, a lot that I'm curious to explore, so in that respect, should be a good time. Should be a good time. And in the meantime, we'll have Xenoblade we'll keep working through on stream. If it's done within the next couple of months, that means we can head back to Silksong and wrap that up, which should hopefully be a grand old time. And otherwise, there's a part of me that's tempted to try and bust out a different game to play on Saturdays regularly. And here's the important part for the streaming schedule. Since that I still have Friday as a viable day, depending on what I need to do on a particular Friday, it may be possible for me to do one-offs like this Variety Nights or a React stream, or I think Gilgamesh earlier requested a multiplayer community night since it had been a while, which, fair. So, by that count, I still have Friday as an optional stream day, so it might not be a bad idea every couple of weeks. Well, it might not be a bad idea to leave it open as a possibility that I could jump in and stream on it every couple of weeks or so. The question is, what exactly would the focus be? I don't necessarily want to start a second game up, or necessarily double up on Xenoblade, especially given where Xenoblade is right now. But I think, well, and there are going to be instances where I can't stream on a Saturday where I can just use it as Friday as a makeup. So my thinking is that right now the Friday time slot will be principally the backup in case I can't make it on a Saturday, but also act as an opportunity to do random stuff like this. On a semi-regular basis. So I want to try and make it a point of doing a React stream every month, just to try and work through the backlog, as there is a ton that has been requested already. So we've knocked out 2 today, and there's going to be plenty more. Let's see if I can get an exact count on how many we've got. So let's see, not including the Xenoblade stuff. So we've got, let's see, 4 from him, 2 from him. And then, of the stuff I want to talk about, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, we got plenty to last us. It may be worth doing twice a month given the circumstances. So, every couple of weeks, depending on when the mood strikes, bearing in mind that I also have other stuff I want to look towards and work on. So, it's not something that I want to guarantee as this is always going to happen, but it is something that I will be keeping the possibility open for. So we'll see how it ends up working out in that respect, and for now, yes, we'll go ahead and leave it there. So, next time we jump in, we'll be back to Xenoblade. I'm debating between taking care of knocking out some of the higher level, well, trying the super bosses at a higher level, or just continuing to work through the side quest menagerie. As far as the rest of Xenoblade is concerned, I'm continuing to work through the Archshades Gauntlet offline. I've made 3 good attempts at it so far. One which, well, the first one made it to stage 130 before getting knocked down because I misplayed it. The second one, I didn't get the hero I needed partway through, and I'm seeing why it was recommended to just start over if you don't get that hero, and only made it to stage 70. The third attempt, I made it to the final stage at 140, but misplayed it a bit and didn't have the damage I need to really bring it down, so I looked deeper into the guide and it looks as if I may want to modify what exactly the heroes I'm bringing along are equipped with, just to make sure that I've got the ability for them to survive and therefore the ability for me to survive. So, we'll see how it turns out. We will see how it turns out. Once that I have finished going through all of that, a compilation on that will be forthcoming. It's just a matter of when I'll have time to make it. Honestly, on Fridays that I'm not streaming, it might not be the worst idea. Well, first to barrel through it, but then second to make sure that I have time to edit it. Especially given how busy I'm going to be with every other project. I've got a lot to look forward to. I've got a lot to work on, honestly. I'm very happy with where things are right now. So, hopefully it turns out well. Hopefully this will give me plenty to explore, and yeah, should be a grand old time all around. So, thank you all for stopping by, and I guess with that in mind, we'll go ahead and call it there. Let's see, is there anything I need to see to in chat? Can't wait for them. This is basically the Xenoblade channel, pretty much. Hello Kitty Island Adventure stream when it was promised? No, it was not. Shut up. What, are you gonna repeat the sounds too defensive comments? First of all, you just say methinks the streamer doth protest too much no matter what, so I'm not gonna take that coming from you, but no, that's it. Alright, we'll go ahead and leave it there. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope this was as entertaining for you as it was for me. And I will see you all later. Take care.